Welcome in to Check the Mic, presented by FanDuel. We're live from the Antonio Cromartie studio, in part with Huggy, Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. Live on YouTube, getting ready for a little Week 8 review, Sam.
Indeed. How's it going, Steve?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
Not bad.
I mixed up the intro a little bit. Did things out of order.
Okay, it's just changed it up. It's chaos.
Felt wild. Felt crazy. We got a monster show here today. But I'm not going to lie. Wasn't the most exciting week of football. I usually show up on this. It's a good intro. But stick with us. We'll tell you what it means.
It was a 3-hour show today. Talk about a crappy week of football.
No,
You're welcome.
There's a lot of stories coming out of it. There's a lot of stories. We're going to talk rules. We're going to talk rules when it comes to injury reports. There's a lot to break down in this one. And then you have a piece of paper.
I do. We got you see there's a swag bag on the desk. We got sent to the office from, I assume, a listener or a stalker. It's hard to tell. Somebody called Rick Z. I heard your journalistic integrity was for sale. I hope this covers it. Keep up the verbose work. And it was addressed to Sam Monson of the Associated Press.
Oh, wow.
So
that's really for
someone
you.
has officially bought our favor here with the swag bag on the desk now.
So we have more on the desk. We've got our Exploding Whales hat.
Yep.
We've got your swag bag of just straight up cash.
Indeed.
Bought out by the NFL. So you're not gonna trash the NFL today because you're bought out.
Well, we'll get to that.
I feel like you've got some stuff brewing. So stick around. And you've got your little Sam Monson pop guy.
Yeah, whatever those things are called.
Whatever those are called.
Right.
I got to get my bobblehead in here.
We just got to start decorating, I think.
Yeah, well,
I think we've done a good job with the minimalist thing. It's a pain to put stuff on the wall because that involves, screwing stuff in. But we can load up this desk with crap.
We're ready for all that. Anything else before we get started?
No, other than, the usual stuff. Hit the subscribe button. Check out the memberships. You got various perks. We don't give our address out as part of the perks, but apparently it's not that hard to find. But, name on the wall over there. I added a new one this morning. So a big thank you to our newest insider member tier, whose name you'll see at the bottom at the end of the show when we put them all up at the end.
And I'm not sure when we're going to unveil what we're doing, but we had our first talks about Super Bowl week.
Yeah.
And what we might do there and how we might interact with all of our listeners and members and everybody. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited for the plan for Super Bowl week and Super Bowl night. So the big game. We're already talking about it here in Week 8. So just be ready. Just be ready. We're excited about what's going on down here.
Yep.
All right. Week 8. It all started on Thursday night. Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers got the win 37-10. Kind of a beatdown from the Chargers after a dropped pick 6 by Isaiah Rodgers. They said it hit the ground. Kind of a turning point.
What do you mean that dropped?
That's what it goes down in the advanced box score. We'll call it a dropped interception, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, a bit of a turning point here. Chargers move to 5-3, and Vikings fall to 3-4.
Yeah, good old-fashioned ass kicking. It was weird. Like, the Chargers seemed to have the Vikings snap count from like the second play of the game. So this Chargers defense was back. It was swarming. Carson Wentz was banged up, playing badly, and apparently refusing to take himself out of the game. Like, Kevin O'Connell's basically saying, Carson wanted to stay out there. What did you want from me?
Yeah.
Well, maybe overrule him, Maybe you're like, hey, Carson, I appreciate the grit and determination. However, every time somebody touches you, you're going down like somebody shot you.
JJ's coming back next week anyway. Just get out there.
Maybe we're going to turn it over to the kid who looks like Paxton Lynch. And, it's just let him be the sacrificial lamb today.
Brosmer.
Whatever.
Or Brosmer.
Kid that looks like Paxton Lynch. But no, Carson stayed out there, continued to get his ass kicked until the very end, like 90 seconds to go or whatever. They turned it over to Brosmer. And nothing else happened there. Herbert was pretty phenomenal. This Vikings defense got fairly well gashed, which is an unideal turn of events if you're Minnesota. Yeah, the offense struggling. That kind of makes sense. We don't have our quarterback. You don't really want the defense to be joining it in struggling as well.
Excuse me. I also don't talk about run defense a ton on this show until it's bad. But that's been a big story for Minnesota.
Yeah.
And it was a part of the offseason story, and they got rid of Harrison Phillips before the year, who is a pretty dependable nose tackle for them, and they had been stopping the run through scheme the last couple of years. They're going to load the box more than any team in the league, and they're going to win with bodies up front more than block destroyers, we'll say. and it's
Block
a
destroyers.
right. So they made a move this offseason to get more pass rushers, right? To have pass rushers at every spot and to have depth, and they're getting gashed in the run game. And I said, okay, what's the strategy? Well, for Minnesota, it's going to be 8 men in the box. You're going to win with bodies and blitzing and overloads. And Kamani Vidal has 23 carries for 117. They can't stop him. Herbert had some key scrambles in there as well, so that'll help the rushing numbers. But overall, the run defense has not been great for Minnesota. And they're not creating the same kind of havoc that they usually do with the Flores defense. And there's always a tipping point in the season, it seems, with the Flores defense. But it's usually like week 15, where the league seems to catch up.
This did feel like
earlier.
This did feel like a Ben Johnson Lions game, where they play the Lions and it's like there's nothing you can do. They just have the answers. They know what's coming, or even when they don't know what's coming, they're just able to execute a split second fast enough so that your pressure didn't get home. This felt like that, where no matter what the Vikings did, Justin Herbert had an answer to it. You look, his numbers against the blitz in the game, I mean, in the first half, they were absolutely off the charts. In the second half, Flores backed off, didn't blitz him as much, but overall, he was 14 for 17, 189 yards, which is 11.1 yards per attempt, with 3 touchdowns. Like, the numbers against the blitz were nuts. He also had scrambles for 34 yards. Justin Herbert played absolutely phenomenally, and the Vikings defense didn't have answers for it. I don't want to belabor the point because it ended up being an absolute beatdown, and maybe it was always going to go that way. But that dropped pick 6. That's right at the start of the game. It was one of the rare occasions where they did blitz, and it caused problems. It was a miscommunication between Herbert and Ladd McConkey. The ball ends up being in Isaiah Rodgers' hands. He goes down to the ground in catching it, gets up, runs in, touchdown. That would have put the Vikings up 7-0. And, we've all watched enough games that these are the types of plays that entire games can hinge on, and who knows how it goes if that play stands. This one, I think, was the least controversial of the recent plays where Minnesota has ended up getting on the crappy end of all of it. But it's another one where I'm pretty sure if you don't have super slow-mo instant replay, that stands, and we all just move on with our lives and call that a pick 6.
Yeah, we're big anti-super slow replay on the show here this year. The Chargers probably win either way.
I would assume
you're right.
so,
like the game flow changes.
It's a totally different game, I think, if Minnesota starts that 7-0. If the first, one of the first blitzes that they threw at Herbert had caused a problem, and suddenly we're just in a different world. Instead, they get a do-over. Then the Chargers just take over, and Minnesota never gets in the game again.
Credit the Chargers in the pass rush. They did sack Wentz 5 times.
Minnesota's offensive line, again, Darrisaw left the game. Brian O'Neill was out. The offensive line went back to being a complete train wreck with at least 3/5 of the starting unit off the field. 4/5 in this case. Me
sighing is because keep an eye on number 3 for the Chargers. He only played 6 snaps. Came out injured. We'll see.
It was a lot. This was
both sides. A lot of injuries.
This was a big game in terms of guys getting hurt, like a huge amount on both sides of the ball. Al Michaels referred to this as getting skunked for the Vikings, and I feel like that's a good description of what happened. Like, this is going to stink for a while if you're Minnesota. Everything, no matter what you do. You can have as many showers as you want during this week. You're still going to feel the stink of this game going into next week.
Other thing to mention for the Chargers here, again, Herbert, 3 touchdowns, 18 of 25 for 227. Pretty good game for him. Aronde Gadsden, the second straight week, the rookie tight end. Still weird calling him a tight end because I think he was technically a receiver at Syracuse for a couple of years before officially becoming a tight end. But that's what he is. 5 catches for 77. And now the Chargers adding him to Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnston did not have a catch in this game, but we know he's had a nice season or breakout year for him in year 3. With Joe Alt back in the lineup for the Chargers. If they can give a little bit of time to Herbert, they have the pass catchers. Now, it's the opposite of last year where it was just Ladd McConkey, and now they're able to spread the ball around and have different playmakers step up. Gadsden's been great these last few weeks.
Yes, and both physically and metaphorically, Joe Alt being back in the lineup is huge for this Chargers team. That absolutely changed everything, I think. It feels weird to sort of harp on the fact that the Minnesota Vikings offensive line has been so banged up, but it does, I think, fairly obviously materially change how this team plays when they go from, 4/5 of the starting line in the lineup to 4/5 of the starting line out of the lineup. It goes from the offense is pretty good and it functions to, you might as well just go home. This is not going to work.
All right, so Chargers now 5-3. They're the Chiefs are getting the most hype, and they might be 5-3 after tonight.
Right.
The most hype in that division, but technically the Chargers are in second. The Broncos are in first at 6-2, and the Chiefs are, starting to catch up here. So the AFC West looking pretty competitive, and now for the Chargers, I'd said this was a big game for both teams. The Vikings have 3 difficult games coming up here: Seahawks, Lions, and one other tough one that I didn't have off the top of my head 3 days later. And then the Chargers needed this one just to, hang in there with the AFC West.
Yeah, Chargers, remember when their injuries have been looking okay, Justin Herbert looks like arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. Generally, things with the Chargers look pretty good. Denver's defense is one of the best in the NFL, and apparently their offense is at least capable of high-end play based off yesterday, and then the Chiefs are the Chiefs. So this could be an extremely competitive division over the course of the year. Minnesota, given their upcoming remaining schedule, the season may already kind of be toast for them. With the injuries they've had piling up, the fact that they might not have a quarterback regardless of which one is in the lineup. Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, Green Bay, Seattle, those are the next games.
That's what it is, yeah.
Then you get a respite with a theoretical easier game against Washington, who could be good when they have Jaden Daniels, and when they're healthy, Dallas, New York. It's the toughest schedule in the NFL on paper, and they've had one of the easiest ones up until this point, and they haven't been good.
To sum it up, the Vikings at 3-4 have yet to play the Lions or the Packers, the 2 top teams in that division.
Yeah.
And when they do, and then that stretch of 3 games that you mentioned, Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, then Green Bay, Seattle. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
With J.J. McCarthy coming back next week.
Right.
In Detroit.
Who might not be good.
He's got a good quarter under his belt. We'll see. We've only seen 2 games of J.J. McCarthy.
One reliable, steady quarter under his belt, ready to cook.
It's fair to say he might be good in the long term, but in year 1, who knows?
Based off the current evidence, if you were betting, is J.J. McCarthy the thing that's going to spark this team and take them past this league toughest schedule down the stretch? You'd be like,
I would bet no.
No, I don't think so. But
my bets aren't good. By the way, for the record, on the show, I did pick the Chargers to win, and somebody misclicked in the app, or I didn't fix it in the app, so I took an L for this game in the standings.
Somebody was pointing out that in the course of me having a stroke live on air, we never actually got my pick for whatever game that was.
Yeah. Whatever.
It's in the app, so
it's in the app. Go check. You got to sign up on the Discord with the app and the whole thing. All right, I got no more use for this game. Let's get to Sunday. Oh, man, this one. Surprising one. Let's start with the Miami Dolphins, 34, Falcons, 10.
Speaking of getting skunked.
Dolphins move to 2-6 with this one. Falcons fall to 3-4. Best game the Dolphins have played all season.
By a mile.
By a mile. And for the Falcons, I think they remain, very confusing. Now, we didn't know on Thursday when we did the preview show, Michael Penix, I believe I directly quoted saying, hey, he's got a bone bruise in the knee.
You did say that.
He's going to play through it.
I did think that a bone bruise is one of the toughest things to play through. I didn't connect that to, well, maybe you won't play then.
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't making that up. that was
I know.
As of Thursday, those were the reports.
Right. But when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's a tough thing to play through. Presumably he'll be limited in terms of, you were focusing on it in terms of how much that might affect him just in the pocket, generally functioning, pushing off a knee that's dealing with that. I was like, yeah, that's a tough thing to play through. Neither one of us was like, well, maybe he won't actually play then based on that.
Yeah. And then Drake London also didn't play for the Falcons.
Yes.
And then if you gave me that information on Thursday, I'll be honest. Even that information on Thursday, hey, Kirk Cousins is going to play, no Drake London, I'd say, all right, well, Bijan's going to get 20 carries.
Yeah.
Algiers going to get 10 carries. They're going to run for 200 yards against this Miami run defense. But I want to talk about the Miami run defense and how they did it.
I will say.
But they held Bijan to 25 yards on 9 carries. And Algier, four carries for 4 yards, including just a late touchdown. Miami's run defense was by far the best they've been all season.
Yeah. I will say that information was enough to make me flip my pick in the Sleeper app. I did decide, and I hate doing that.
Like a touchdown
spread.
Yeah.
I hate changing the thing because it's usually you second guess yourself, you do something stupid and it ends up being the pick you thought in the first place. So I don't like doing that generally, but I was like, you know what, Kirk Cousins throwing to people that aren't Drake London, I can't do it. For a touchdown, there's no way they're covering that line. So I did think there was enough to make the game closer than a touchdown. I did not think that there was any way, shape, or form that Atlanta was going to get beat down by 2-3 scores off the back of that. Because as you said, they should still have been able to just feed the ball to Bijan Algier, run all over this Miami defense that hasn't been able to stop anybody this season. And then the other side of the ball, you're like, Atlanta's defense should still murder the Miami offense because everybody else has.
Yeah. I mean, from Miami's perspective, it was the best their offense has looked. Obviously, no Tyreek Hill for the season. Darren Waller has been out, so you lose both of those guys. But it didn't matter. It was kind of a throwback when, early Mike McDaniel Miami days where they have this beautifully designed touchdown to HN in the flat.
And the touchdown to Waddle was like if you had to pull up a play that was what does the Mike McDaniel to a Miami offense look like? This play. Deep dig, Perfect timing, outruns the defense, touchdown. Whether it's Jalen Waddle or whether it's Tyreek Hill, that's the play. And they haven't had that for a while.
Atlanta had one of the better pass rushes in the league, blitz schemes. And look, I've been raving about Divine Diablo this entire season as a linebacker addition to that defense. He's injured now. I don't think Divine Diablo is that good that all of a sudden the Falcons go from one of the best to one of the worst defenses. Clearly they're missing him, though. But they looked slow in the secondary. They just looked, I don't know, Miami was very good offensively for the first time in a while. I know it's a dome game for Tua coming off the windy game in Cleveland, and those things matter a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was the first time in a while that they looked like, hey, speed to the edge, Waddle running through the defense on the 43-yarder, little angle screen to Ollie Gordon when it was already garbage time. Like they had the dialed-up plays, they had the speed plays, and Tua had a scramble drill touchdown. We haven't seen much of that. That was the best Tua's looked in quite a while as well.
It was. Atlanta is fast becoming, I think, the most confusing team in the NFL. I mean, whatever about, Bijan Robinson averaging 2.8 yards per attempt, he also just randomly lost the ball. Like, just running around, and then ball pops out.
That was, if I could just break down really quick what Miami did to stop the run. I think it's one of the hardest things we have to do. I mean, feel bad for us as NFL analysts, right?
You don't know how hard it is.
You don't know how difficult it is. When you go and you predict, hey, this team has a good run game, this team has a bad run defense, we're going to see a strong run game. It's really tough to figure out when the team with the bad run defense is either just going to stack the box and take it away in one given week, or, if you really break down run defense, or if you break down Miami, in a given week it's like 3-4 plays that are just awful. Defensive tackles are, at the second level getting smoked. The linebackers and the safeties are awful tackling in space. That was the Titans against the Colts yesterday. But Miami didn't have any of that in this game. Their defensive tackles didn't get moved. Zach Sealer knifed into the backfield to stop Tyler Algier on a 3rd and 1 early on. But that's the linebackers were playing downhill. Jordan Brooks, Tyrell Dodson made some great plays, just working downhill, playing physically. Yeah. The edges played well. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, setting the edge. They hadn't been doing any of this. They decided they're going to do it in this game against Atlanta. And I'll just say, all year we've said, look, I don't think Miami's great in the middle physically, but they're still better than they've shown. And this week they finally showed, hey, we're better than we've been these first 7 weeks of the season.
That's the thing. So much about, it's different to the pass defense where you can't just really just add extra bodies to a pass defense and shore it up. You can do that with the run game. Like if you have the worst run defense in the NFL, at some point you can just decide, you know what, we're taking a guy out of the secondary, we're stacking the box, we are literally going to add extra humans to the run game to ensure that it's better in this game. And most of the time that works because a lot of the run game is simple math and how many bodies at the line of scrimmage. If you block one guy, you're good. So you can kind of randomly decide just to consciously make it better in a way that you can't really do with the pass game. But what you can't do is predict. So number one, you can't really predict when a team is going to do that. What you definitely can't predict is when the 4 or 5 underachieving talented players on the defensive line are going to collectively decide to play well.
Right.
Like Zach Sealer has been one of the better underrated defensive linemen in the NFL for the last several years and has not been playing well at all this year. Like, how are you expected to predict the day where he just decides, I'm going to show up today. Today's when I'm going to show up and make plays.
And so then after all that, they had stopped Algier in the backfield a couple times. The Falcons' run blocking, which had been a beautiful scene of outside zone and, giving Bijan a little bit of room, and then he turns it into something. As soon as they give him some room, 6-7 yard carry, he fumbles. Yeah. In a 17-3 game. So again, credit the Dolphins for cracking down and making these plays. And for Atlanta, no rhythm. I mean, my take on Kirk Cousins as the backup, also predicting backup quarterback play.
Yeah.
Very difficult. But, on paper, Kirk Cousins should be one of the best backups. In practice, not to overrate one game here, in practice, Kirk Cousins feels like the kind of person, for me, who needs all the practice reps, needs all the time, needs the rhythm, needs the timing with his receivers. Like Jacoby Brissett has stepped in right away, and he's done this across multiple seasons now. Jacoby Brissett can step in and just kind of feels ready. He just feels like when he steps in, he's Jacoby Brissett. You know what you're going to get from Jacoby Brissett week in, week out. Put together some good games, some not so good games, but he steps in, he's Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if Kirk Cousins is the type of guy that can just take backup reps all season, get 1 week of practice, and be ready to go, because he just feels like this career overachiever who needs all the practice time, all the reps. The number of times that he was not on the same page as receivers or missed an open throw, it just wasn't there for Cousins. So I don't know if he's the best actual backup, despite, statistically and performance-wise, historically, on paper, he's the best backup in the NFL.
I am starting to think that backup quarterback play is almost entirely random at this point. Because as much as you're like, you know what you're going to get from Jacoby. You've also seen games where Jacoby Brissett goes out there and it's like, this offense can't move the ball. He gets, 117 yards and we don't function at all.
That's what I mean by you know what you're going to get.
Right. You know what you're going to get.
It's either I don't know. It's not the best way of characterizing it.
I honestly just think, though, that it's almost like you get a guy that you think at least has the ability to, run the offense, be a functional quarterback, and then you just hope that this day we need him is one of the good games, and not one of the bad ones, and it could be anything. The knives are being sharpened for Zach Robinson because they had another game where things didn't look great. What do you make of that as a dynamic?
There is, I'm always, because he's, someone we can talk to, I'm always fascinated by the first-time offensive coordinator who comes from, that was first time in his career, second year, who comes from McVay and then saying, okay, what is your offense? What are you going to run? And I'll say I'm a little surprised that they've run as much pistol as they've run, because a lot of the ex-QB ball knowers, the Kurt Warners of the world, the Dan Orlovskis of the world, some other former quarterbacks who are okay ball knowers, they might not love the offense, the pistol. There's been some criticism. Why are they running the pistol? Why are they 8 yards deep on at running back? Why are they doing this or that? Why don't they run gap scheme at all? Why are the pass concepts not as creative? I will say there's some staleness to it. There's some staleness to it. I'm not saying yesterday's game. Again, you got Cousins. I don't know how quickly they knew he was going to start. You have no Drake London. You're a little hamstrung there.
Yeah, I mean we're back. Yeah, remember what we said coming into this year is it's going to be an interesting season with this offense because for the first time Zach can run what he wants to run, not what he has to run because Kirk Cousins is his quarterback and Kirk Cousins is a guy in his mid-30s who just came off an Achilles tear. Now, he's another year removed from that Achilles tear, but we're still dealing with somebody that probably can't run everything that he wants to run. It's interesting, though, because it's an unusual offense. It's not, a cookie-cutter offense. It's not one that everyone runs. It's a few specific things that Zach clearly thinks are, this is how I want to do it. This is the way I think is the best way of running an offense. And anytime that stuff doesn't work, immediately all the people that this is how it should, Kurt Warner is really fascinating and he knows this. This is what I think makes him really intriguing. He is aware of his own internal biases towards certain styles of offense. As a guy that was a former, relatively conventional pocket passing quarterback, that's the way I believe the game should be played. And so he has an immediate, hackles are raised on his neck whenever there's like quarterbacks on the move, whenever we're tapping into the design run game, all this kind of stuff. Like he wants to see drop back vertical passing game. And he knows that. Like he said it on our show. That's what he looks for when he's in the draft. Dano has his own biases as well. Like, this is how I think the game should run. This is how I want to see the game run. So anytime you have an offense that doesn't look like that, they're immediately looking for reasons to crap on it.
They also both generally come from the point of view, which is really interesting because you and I generally come from the point of view. You and I come from the point of view of player evaluation first.
Right.
They're basically scheme evaluation.
Sure.
They usually work from the premise of the quarterback is right, the scheme is wrong, right? There's no such thing as a bad quarterback. There's only bad coaching and bad schemes. So most of their analysis comes from this coach is doing a good job putting the quarterback in position to succeed. This quarterback's in a bad position to succeed. And they generally go with, there's no failed quarterback play. There's only failed coaching. And we always come from the idea of this player played well, played poorly, he's doing this or that. And obviously there's a blend of both of those things. It's just an interesting perspective from those guys. The other thing that you get, and the point I was trying to make on the offense, they're at extreme levels. I just kicked the...
You only killed the monitor, not the feed, right? Like we're still live?
Yeah. If we had a button that killed the show right next to me...
It shouldn't be anywhere near you. Yeah.
That would be really, really bad planning. Bad choices.
Yeah.
I just kicked a plug that knocked our monitor out.
Correct.
And made it look like we were off air for a second. But I'm pretty sure we're still here. The point... The Falcons' offense was working in extremes. Extreme level of outside or wide zone. Still no gap scheme, right? They're not mixing it up from a run game perspective. But every week we're over here raving about how good Bijan is, so Does it really matter? The other part that I would say, they're low play action despite being so run heavy. Like, why is that? Why don't we have a couple more fakes to the belly of Bijan to open things up? The other part that I'll say about this offense, Bijan's so good this year. The number of times that he's created explosives in the pass game, either on a check down or a throwback screen, they may be too dependent on just Bijan Robbins and, believe it or not, explosives, the things he couldn't create before this season. But pass game explosives, if you take those out, is this a good offense this year? I don't know. But I've still viewed them as kind of a dudes type of offense, right? Get the ball to Drake London, which they've had elements of feeding him like crazy, where it's worked well. Feed Drake London. Well, he wasn't in the game. Darnell Mooney's been in and out of the lineup throughout this season. He was a great part of this offense last year. He's been in and out this year. Kyle Pitts has looked good, and I think there's elements of just a feel to the game and he's just a dude that you could throw to, and Bijan's a dude coming out of the backfield. That's what it should be. Get the ball to those guys in as many ways as possible, and I think there's spurts where this offense does that, and then there's spurts where they don't whatsoever. And now you've got a shutout loss against Carolina, and you have this game against Miami, two defenses that you should have the advantage against, and Atlanta looked bad. And so that's worrisome. And now they go play New England next week as a 3-4 team. This is a massive loss for the Falcons.
Oh, it's huge. But I don't know that you just say, this is an offense that isn't as conventional as others, and this was a bad game, therefore the coach is terrible. Number one, I think there were some plays to be made in this game that, were schemed up and were there to be had, and Cousins didn't make them. Like, there was a 3rd and 3 early in the game where the play design is fine. It's a normal concept on one side. The underneath guy's open. It's a clean pocket, and Cousins bails from it and walks right into pressure, I think, from Jalen Phillips. That's to throw the ball away. Like, that's one where if you're like, did the coach put the quarterback in a position to succeed? Yes. Did the quarterback decide not to succeed anyway? Also yes. So it's a weird offense where I think because it's unusual, because it's unconventional, the second it doesn't work, people are looking to crap over it. It's like the Mike McDaniel thing, right? You're a bit of a weird character, and that's fine when you're winning. And as soon as you stop winning, people are like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he kind of weird, I think that's the way people treat this offense with Zach. It's because it's unusual. When it's all working, that's fine. But the second it stops working, And what the hell's wrong with his offense? Why doesn't he just run, gap scheme under center?
And ultimately, when we call Atlanta a weird team, and you could go back and chalk it up to say, well, maybe they're just not as good on the road, and now you lose at home in the Dome. Look, I know you've got backup QB, missing wide receiver 1. Those are factors, but against the defense that was awful against the run, and you couldn't get your strength going as a run-first team. And if you can't run the ball, if you're Atlanta, if you can't run the ball and you don't have your top receiver, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
And so I think Miami took advantage of that. They deserve credit. They played better than they had played all season. It's funny because when we analyze these games, we'd spend weeks talking about the Dolphins when they lose. We do spend more time sometimes talking about the losing team because you're trying to figure out what went wrong for them. But sometimes it is just, hey, the Dolphins played great. They played downhill. They played physically for the first time in a while. Tua played the best game he played all season. And Atlanta did look
with his.
They were not creating the same kind of pressure and indecision in offenses. And Tua's quick release was, kept them off balance.
With him out there looking like Rocky. Did you hear about his eye thing?
No.
He was added to the going into this game, like the first thing they tell you in this game about the broadcast is that Tua was added to the injury report minutes before the game with an eye injury.
Oh,
right?
I thought it was illness.
It was. So apparently he woke up basically with a swollen eye. He got sick or something, woke up, and his left eye looks like Rocky. So you're like, what? When you hear that coming into a game, I'm like, nothing is more Miami than this. Tua randomly just gets sick in the night, wakes up with a swollen eye, he can barely see. And you're like, this is the most Miami thing ever. They're going to get shellacked by 30 points, and this is just the way this season's going for them. Instead, apparently that was all he needed to kick into gear and get going in the right direction. But there's a picture of him somewhere. I think Ari Maroff, our colleague, has it, where it's from the sky cam or whatever. You've seen Tua.
You don't think he got punched in Atlanta?
I don't think that's what was causing it. But
okay.
That was typically Miami this season. Anything that can go wrong did go wrong, and then actually the game started and things were all good.
So just to put a bow on this one, Miami's got to come back for Thursday Night Football against Baltimore.
Yep.
Where Lamar Jackson's presumably coming back. Now looks like could be a more competitive game if Miami plays like this, but we'll see if they can put 2 weeks together. For Atlanta, how big is this? Losing against San Francisco and then Miami, falling to 3-4. They now go to New England. Then they've got the Germany game against the Colts, and then they've got Panthers, Saints, Jets. But 2 tough games coming up against the AFC here. They're in danger of falling to 3-6.
Yeah. Before
they run into some, worse record type teams.
It was already a kind of big missed opportunity or a damaging game because of Tampa Bay. But yeah, given their schedule, it's potentially a real issue.
All right, I got no more use for this game.
Done.
Let's go Baltimore Ravens back in the win column against the Chicago Bears, 30-16. Ravens move to 2-5. Bears fall to 4-3. Baltimore, we analyzed this game the whole time, expecting Lamar Jackson to play. Mm-hmm. Let's at least start with that story. He was a full participant, listed as a full participant. Did I get this right? Full participant Wednesday or limited. Either way, one of the practice days he was listed as full.
Yeah.
When it was wrong. He was
Correct.
not. He did not take all the rule is all the first team reps or majority of the first team reps to equal full, and they did not. That was not.
It's commensurate based off what he is. So if he's a starter and he runs with the scout team, he can't be a full. That's not
right.
So basically, Baltimore incorrectly listed his status in practice on the injury report, which is a big no-no in this world of gambling everywhere, and the injury report exists so that people can gamble correctly, right? And in a world where the NBA is already hip deep in a gambling scandal and the NFL is in bed with every gambling company going, the last thing they want to happen is an injury report scandal in a game.
It's a great question, and that's why you have inactives for the team.
Right.
There's sometimes we're hey, you only have 7 active offensive linemen. Remember that one game, Tuaolo for the Titans, the tight end for the Falcons. All the Falcons' O-linemen got hurt about 6-7 years ago, and he had to play tackle.
Right.
And everyone's like, why can't you just have everybody active? So all the offensive linemen, because gambling, fantasy, you need people to be declared inactive so that you know, like Michael Penix isn't going to play, Drake London isn't going to play. You know for sure they're not going to play.
Yeah.
And that there's no indecision. Do you think if you had to put percentages on it, how much of the NFL actually cares about the competitive nature of that versus the gambling and fantasy nature of it?
Oh, it's almost entirely the latter.
Because obviously it's a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
To say Tyler Huntley versus Lamar Jackson, like to know who the starter is going to be. There's a competitive advantage there. How much does the NFL care about the actual wins and losses for their team?
No, I think it's
versus gambling, which is freshly legal. By the way,
it's almost entirely, I think, the latter.
Okay, just saying. I mean, so there might be some.
I mean, the bottom line is there. I think that Baltimore is going to be in trouble for that.
Yeah.
I think the league will have some form of discipline for the way that the Ravens handled the whole Lamar thing. Anyway, the idea was everyone thought Lamar was playing, and that ended up not being the case. He's supposedly going to be playing Thursday night, but this was a Snoop Huntley game.
He played well, man. 17 of 22 for 186. Also had a big scramble in there for 29 yards. And so Huntley, a couple of years ago, played pretty well for Baltimore for the most part and had one of those games, certainly more efficient than Cooper Rush. Fascinating game from a game flow perspective. I wanted to break that down in a second here, but what were your overall thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I had the Bears. This is another one where, I had the Bears to cover this. I thought, because remember, Baltimore 1-5 or whatever, but Vegas has not given up on them, and based off yesterday's results, appears to be correct in that assessment. However, as soon as it was a case of, Lamar Jackson's not even playing in this game, controversy, it's a Snoop Huntley game. I was feeling a lot better about picking Chicago to cover that line. And for a while, it looked like that was going to be the case. It was a close game. Baltimore was playing, pretty well. The defense certainly had showed up in a way that they hadn't at any point this season now that they've got some bodies back and were healthier. And you're like, this is setting up for Caleb Williams to just make a couple plays, and eventually the Bears steal this game, and potentially win or at least cover the line. And then Caleb Williams throws a terrible interception, and from that moment on, Baltimore ran away with it.
Yeah, so it's a one-score game late. And by the way, I thought Huntley's addition, just having him instead of Cooper Rush, his running ability, having him to just as a threat on keepers opens things up. Keaton Mitchell had a couple big runs in there. Derrick Henry had the 2 touchdowns, so they finally did connect or convert in the tight red zone, which they had not done 2 weeks ago against the Ravens. But it was a one-score game. Bears are backed up. And Caleb Williams is just late and behind.
Yeah.
Just late and behind.
It was also, it was a great play from Nate Wiggins, who remains like I think he's been the best Ravens defender this year and has been a really good cornerback for them this season. So it was a great play by him to kind of, undercut the receiver, get there and make the play, but a better thrown pass doesn't let him make that opportunity.
Right. And so, again, I'm still trying to figure out Caleb Williams and the Bears offense. He started out like 6 of 7, and there is a noticeable difference in rhythm with Caleb Williams and the Bears early in the game versus late. It's not always clean as, the first 15 and the script.
Right.
And because the first 15, sometimes you have those splits. Like there was, I think it was when Tannehill was with the Titans for whatever reason, they had massive splits between the first 15 and then the rest of the game or whatever it was, and some of it's noisy. But for whatever reason, early in the game, Caleb Williams comes in, rhythm, firing, and I don't know if it's because there's more familiarity with those plays. Because what happens with the first 15, it's not like, let's have our best plays. Let's have our plays that we're going to practice the most. Or a lot of it's to set up the rest of the game, right? People talk about Andy Reid all the time. We'll show every single motion so that you figure out how the defense is going to handle every single one of your motions and formations, and then you build essentially the rest of the game plan off of that. You pick the plays based off of how the defense reacted to the first 15, 20 plays, whatever you put out there. But in Caleb's case, there is a noticeable different rhythm early versus late. Doesn't mean he doesn't make any good throws. What a ridiculous throw that was to DJ Moore under pressure late. That almost set up when they were trying to make a comeback. It doesn't mean there's nothing good, but there's a lack of rhythm, isn't there, from the beginning of the game to the end. And they only put up 2 field goals. Like, they were up 6-0, but they were moving the ball, and there was something to that offense early on.
And it still feels like it's either or. Like, he only has 2 modes. He has, within rhythm, operating the offense, quick distributor mode, and then he has that play to DJ Moore mode, right, where it's like chaos. I'm just going to run around, wait till something opens up, and then fire an improbable, ridiculous pass. The velocity that he's able to generate on the run is unlike, I think, anybody else in the NFL.
I would say the speed, too, right? Like, his scramble speed, I don't know. I know NGS has pulled that out before. Like, the speed at which he scrambles is
he's
fast.
Both bigger, stronger, and faster than you think he is when he's just moving with the ball.
It throws laser beams
That's
on the
the
run.
thing. But what he's able to do with the ball from ridiculous angles on the run without his feet under him, I think is unlike any other quarterback in the NFL. Like, it's like very early Mahomes. Like, now Mahomes is less about the actual velocity of the passes he's delivering is less insane now. He knows where to put it, right? And it almost always gets there. But you're no longer really wowed at sort of like the actual whip and RPM and velocity that he's putting on the ball the way you were the first couple of years. That's what Caleb's like now. Like, there was one where he was running to his right, feet were nowhere near under him, and somehow he fired an absolute laser beam to the dude in the sideline. Like, how do you do that? No, I'm not going to say nobody else can do it because, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert would have a shot at that, but it is very, very rare. But the point is, he only seems to have those 2 modes. It's like, distributing conventional quarterback, and then at some point in the game, a switch is flipped, and he goes to agent of chaos, scrambler, and nothing in the middle.
The other thing I'll say, might as well get it out of the way right now from a Bears perspective, I thought they really botched the end of both halves. Now, the second part I'm going to talk about, they were down 2 scores, didn't really matter. But if we want to call this a microcosm of game management or what have you, end of the first half, Caleb Williams has a really nice long scramble, puts them into field goal range. Then they just complete a short pass. Williams picks up an intentional grounding, which essentially takes them out of field goal range. They get back into it with a 3rd and 15. They've got to do what J.J. Watt was calling the hurricane field goal. How many different terms have you called?
I heard 3 just yesterday.
Yeah. I've heard it called the
Mayday and something else.
I've heard it called fire drill field goal.
Somebody else called it a Mayday.
Mayday, I think, is most common. Right? So you've got the 3rd and 15. You have no timeouts. You complete the pass over the middle of the field. You got to sprint the field goal team out there, and they miss the field goal.
Short. 58, very short from 58. I mean, in a world where I was bummed that they didn't let that Dallas tried to complete a pass instead of just letting where you hit it from 70 yesterday. In a world where you're like a 70-yard field goal is clearly possible because we saw it in the preseason, Cairo Santos was short from 58.
But as Scott Hansen pointed out on Red Zone, I happened to be on Red Zone at that point, you don't have the time to get the kicking ball in there.
I don't think that that's a big part of that, but I may be wrong.
You've been the reason why kicks are 7 yards longer this year is because of the kicking balls.
Yes, but it's because they've allowed the kicking balls to be worked in the same way as the rest of the balls are worked in. Not because, kicking balls previously were basically fresh out of the box.
Yeah,
and it's
for
like,
kicking. They're set up perfectly designed for kicking.
But part of the point is you wear it in, like a baseball glove. It's like previously it was like fresh out of the box an hour ago, and you're like, here's this brick to kick. Good luck with that. The difference is they've now allowed you to wear this thing in so there's some more elasticity to it. I mean, quarterbacks have been scuffing up the balls and wearing them in for years. I feel like now the difference between a K ball and a regular ball is less than it's ever been before.
So you don't think that's a big deal?
I don't.
So anyway.
I think Santos missing from 58 short is very little to do with the fact that he was kicking a regulation ball.
So because they were doing the Hurricane Mayday fire drill field goal, they were using the gamer.
Right.
They had to set it up quickly. He misses it short. So they kind of messed up the end of half. The way they ended the second half, and then we'll talk about the Ravens a bit, you're already down 2 touchdowns. You have a minute left. You have no timeouts left. And again, they just screwed it up. Like, if you were going to have a comeback attempt, which was going to be difficult.
Improbable.
Right. Improbable.
Once DJ Moore didn't get in, it was probably not. There was probably very little chance of it happening.
So let's start with that. Caleb Williams under pressure. Ridiculous throw getting popped by Kyle Hamilton. And did Hamilton pick up a penalty on that? He smoked him. And DJ Moore makes a one-handed catch along the sideline. Mm-hmm. They get set up at the 2-yard line. And next pass, Caleb Williams throws the ball short of the end zone. They have no timeouts left. So that's a bad move.
Right.
They run up to the line of scrimmage, run a quick QB sneak, which is probably the right call. Let's just sneak it in, get this over with. He's short, so he doesn't run that well. And then it's like, well, you can't spike it at any point here.
Right.
Because it's fourth down, and it's fourth down. Was it DJ Moore wide open in the back of the end zone?
Yeah, I think so.
And nobody's even near him, and Caleb Williams misses the throw, and it was mass confusion at the very end. And then the announcers were, I mean, JJ, to his credit, was pretty funny. Like, as soon as that pass was thrown short of the end zone, he goes, oh, no. Because he saw what was happening, right? You're short of the end zone. You're going to lose about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Any chance of a comeback isn't there. I'm not saying they would have made the comeback.
No, I mean, they still need an onside kick. It was extremely improbable anyway, but it probably needed DJ Moore to get in on that crazy pass.
But to me, it just sums up last year's Thanksgiving game where
remember that
Caleb
game,
Williams
got Eberflus fired, right?
Right.
But part of that was, remember, Caleb Williams came out after that and basically said that he nixed the play.
It was on me.
Because he thought something different. You're like, hang on, the quarterback goofed the situation in his own head. Like, okay, it was absolutely a complete catastrophe from a coaching standpoint and arguably a fireable offense in and of itself. However, Caleb Williams also said that I forget the exact, didn't he change the play or something because he thought himself they had an extra timeout or something? Like, Caleb Williams screwed that up in just as large a way as Eberflus did. And in a way that, quarterbacks need to be on top of every single detail all the way through the game. That was a real failing from him, and it got completely brushed under the table because, Eberflus, time to get him out. And this is another example where I don't know who's to blame for this, but Caleb Williams is in the middle of it again.
I just wanted to bring that up, right? There's some poor game management in there at the end of both halves. An intentional grounding at the end of the first half hurt them, and then the end of the game. Caleb Williams being in the middle of that. And then when they're down 7, he throws that bad interception to let them back into it.
Yeah.
So those things are standing out. And there's with Caleb Williams and the Bears, I thought Roma Dunze looked great. They go through these spurts where last week I thought the run game was good, the physicality was good. You didn't have that this week against the Ravens. And now you go through these rhythm of the offense is good early. It disappears in the middle. You've got some special plays, but maybe not enough, and they're still looking for it. They're still not there. This Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams marriage, if it's ever going to get there.
Other guys to mention in the game, we already talked about the impact that some of the Baltimore defenders coming back made. I mean, Kyle Hamilton looked really good. You had a spectacular play from Mike Green where he whooped the left tackle, got a sack on a third down. I think basically forced a field goal in that play. Didn't do it all the way through the game, which is, you would like to see.
You at least saw that flash, though.
That play was spectacular. You would like, given a guy capable of making that play, you would like to see more of an impact over the course of the game, but that play being there is important given how little pass rush they've had at various points of the season. They had Marlon Humphrey made a play, Travis Jones made a play. Like the guys that we were expecting to be a significant part of a good defense and hadn't been for a lot of this season, even when they were healthy, were back making some plays.
Roquan Smith as well. He came back from injury, made a bunch of tackles in the pass game, closing in on passing lanes. He did a nice job there. The other play that we just need to mention that was huge in this game when it was 23-16 and Tyler Huntley completed a pass down the sideline to DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins got away with offensive pass interference, it looked like. Pretty bad. What?
I mean, just shock and awe. I can't believe that would happen in the NFL.
For Bears fans, for producer Will, have to at least highlight, it may have been some offensive pass interference. That play.
Oh, we've got games where we're going to get to some incompetent
I know, but that play in particular, it was at the 2 plays later, very next play. No, that wasn't right after because they'd already. It was 23-16. That set up their final touchdown. Derrick Henry bouncing out to make it a 2-score game. That was huge. I mean, if the Bears were going to have another comeback attempt, turning it into like a 3rd and long would have been pretty significant there. Mm-hmm. By the way, Kyle Hamilton, we talked about his usage in and around the line of scrimmage these last couple games. I think we're going to see more from Kyle Hamilton in high leverage type of plays, playing against the run, blitzing, what he was doing early last year. Ironically, once they got him back to more free safety, they played better last year. Now they're going to move him more from free safety to around the line of scrimmage and see if that can spark the defense.
That was a huge game for Baltimore in terms of this season, by the way.
It was.
Like, whatever about the confidence Vegas has had in their ability to still go on a run and take this division back. If they had lost, like with that, it kind of assumed, I think everyone assumed Lamar was playing this game up until it became clear he wasn't. So getting through another game with Snoop Huntley and getting a win out of it, like if they dropped a 1-6 because they didn't have Lamar Jackson back in time for this game, even if the run had then started with Thursday night and beating Miami, I mean, that's a really deep hole. Now, less deep because Pittsburgh loses, Cincinnati loses, but still, getting this win and getting at least a 2-5, and now, I mean, Brett Coleman was tweeting yesterday, like, look at the upcoming schedule for Baltimore, and you're like, yeah, they're only 2 games back. That's why at no point did Vegas abandon them as less than a coin flip, basically, to win this division. That might have been different if they lost as well and they were still with 1 win. Like, it's a really important game for them to just find a way of getting the win.
And as bad as their defense looked beginning of the year, gave up 17 to the Rams before the bye, 16 in this game to the Bears. They're getting better defensively. Big win for the Ravens.
Yep.
We'll get to the rest of the games, but quick break to talk about today's sponsor, IM8. It's hard to keep up with every NFL game. We lose track of sleep. We go live, you and I, 7 a.m. every Monday.
Yeah, we do.
It's hard to keep those energy levels up, but that's where IM8's Daily Ultimate Essentials come in. It's a daily all-in-one wellness drink that gives my body the support it needs without juggling a bunch of different supplements. It's been co-founded by David Beckham and crafted with insight from experts from the Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai, and a former NASA chief scientist. It simplifies your wellness routine and makes it easier to support your health. So this drink's loaded with 92 nutrient-rich ingredients and is designed to help you feel good from the inside out. What makes IM8 stand out is how it combines science with nature. They use effective ingredients, back them with research. Plus, it's been through clinical trials where 95% of participants felt more energetic and 85% said their digestion improved. It's vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO. It's NSF certified, which means all the ingredients are third-party tested for purity. So you could feel confident about what you're putting into your body, making it a solid choice if you're focused on your health. So feel your best self every day with IM8. Go to im8health.com/CTM and use code CTM for a free welcome kit. 5 free travel sachets. Jeez. Plus 10% off your order. Sachets, man.
Sachets.
That's, I can't read words.
Read things?
Yeah. That's IM, letters IM, the number 8, HEALTH.com. IM8health.com/CTM. Code is CTM for a free welcome kit. 5 free travel sachets. Plus 10% off your order. IM8health.com/CTM. Code is CTM. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Go get your free sachets.
My one of my kids learning how to read. He's learning about like the long E.
Yeah.
So you could see him as he's reading start saying the word like a slime. He'll say slime, because he sees the E late and he realizes that's me. As I read the word and then correct him. I'm a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm a 6-year-old learning how to read.
Just learning how to read on the fly.
Bills 40-9 over the Panthers. Bills move to 5-2. Panthers fall to 4-4. James Cook with 216 on the ground.
Yeah.
And 2 scores.
He almost had a career game in the first half. Like it was his second, I think, highest rushing game of his career in the first half against this Panthers defense that we were just talking up as, it was pretty good against the run. It's emerged into being a pretty decent unit, having been the worst defense in the NFL. I mean, it wasn't just them. I mean, Andy Dalton had a terrible game and turnovers all over the place, but the defense kind of got wrecked.
Yeah, just to discuss Cook for a second here. We talked about how the Panthers had done a really nice job stopping the run and, pointed out namely Derek Brown and A'Shawn Robinson in the middle. By the way, A'Shawn Robinson got into a little spat after the game with Deion Dawkins.
Oh, yeah?
That would be a battle, by the way. They were getting in each other's faces after the game. Dawkins and A'Shawn, that'd be like if UFC pulled that one or something, that'd be a good matchup, I would say. But so it's interesting, right? Like we were talking about the run defense and the defensive tackles for Carolina. What we couldn't necessarily anticipate, the Bills were spamming that toss play, running more wide zone, getting the ball to James Cook in space. And I thought they did a really good job attacking the edges of the Panthers' run defense. So they created space there. And then that set up like the last touchdown that Cook ran was a toss play. And they had been getting Carolina, pursuing this play the entire game, and then James Cook just cuts right back and has his second touchdown, 21-yarder. The 64-yarder, he did a really nice job. That was more of a kind of a counterplay, but again, they got to the edge with Cook. He makes Trayvon Merrick miss pretty badly, and he's off for 64 yards. I thought Cook's decisiveness in this game, like he was cutting back perfectly when he needed to. Thought the Bills did a really nice job. They did create movement in the middle, but they got the big guys moving laterally, which isn't their game. And Cook was vision, decisiveness, quickness, speed was outstanding in this one. But I just thought it was interesting that the Bills said, hey, we're going to attack the edges against this defense. Ran that toss play a ton with Cook and had a ton of success.
Yeah, their run game was impressive. James Cook is really, really good now. I mean, I talked before when he was a prospect and first couple of years in the NFL. He's like a mini version of Dalvin Cook, his brother. He's like an 80% version of Dalvin across the board. I mean, he's really progressed beyond that now, and he might just be a clone of Dalvin Cook at this stage. Like vintage prime Dalvin Cook, who was one of the best running backs in the NFL. That's what you're dealing with James Cook now, and he's just a perfect fit for this offense.
I never saw those similarities the same way that you did. I didn't even think he was 75%. I mean, I was a huge Dalvin fan, but I've been wrong. James he's been outstanding these last couple of years in particular.
And he was great in this game. Josh Allen was pretty great in the game as well. They didn't need him to do too much stuff, but yet he had a couple of plays where he sort of went a bit too far in the I'm going to be Superman and just make things happen. He had a play where he ran around for 10 seconds.
Like a 15-second sack.
Right, tried to evade like the entire Panthers defense and came a hair away from doing it. And eventually I think Nick Scorton managed to get him to the ground. And you're like, okay, that was a pretty big sack. That's an unideal negative play from Josh Allen. But most of the time he was making that work. I mean, there was one later where Carolina blitzed. It looked like the guy didn't get his hands up. It was just a simple replace, right? Just have a guy hook up right behind the blitz. And Allen hits Shakir, then stiff arms a dude, takes it to the house. They had answers.
Shakir, that was just a standard 5-yard stick route. And
right behind the blitz, though.
Right.
Like simple, there's the blitz. We're going to put the ball right in behind it and let him go to work.
That's one of the, that's one of those where it should be a 9-yard gain, and Shakir turns that into a long 54-yard touchdown. That was such a good play. That we see stick routes caught behind a blitz with no blitz all the time. For Shakir to turn that into a touchdown was so good.
This has been a game. This game was like emblematic of Carolina's season this year, where it's been sort of hit or miss. When it misses, they dig themselves a hole early with turnovers, and this was the case with Bryce Young as quarterback. Where he just randomly drops the ball. And it's the case this game with Andy Dalton at quarterback. I mean, his fumble early was kind of ridiculous for a quarterback of his experience. I mean, he's taken off scrambling, doesn't seem to be aware that he's being chased from behind by a bigger, stronger, faster player. And Gregory Rousseau forces the fumble, as he's sacking him from behind, or I forget if he crossed the line of scrimmage. Anyway, when he get him from behind, force fumble. Late in the game, they snap the ball into Chuba Hubbard's arm, and it careens off in a different direction, fumble. I mean, you can file that under the category of stuff that doesn't happen when the game is going your way, right? Like when it's not your day, that's the type of stuff that happens. When it is your day, you rarely snap the ball into the hand of your own running back just by accident on the way. But Carolina's, they're not good enough to withstand that kind of thing. Like you can't dig yourself a hole against Buffalo and expect to be in the game. And yet that's what they did.
They were hanging tough early despite the Dalton fumble, but it was 12-3 before the half. A.J. Epinesa with an incredible interception on a screen.
Yeah.
That was another tough one, too. I don't know if he was supposed to be blocked by somebody, but Dalton, it's always tough because the QB's got to catch and throw it, and you're expecting him to either get cut or just not, perfectly read it. But Epinesa reads the play, jumps up, gets his hands on it, kicks it up to himself, catches it, and then jukes Dalton right after. That was unbelievable. I think my favorite thing now is, first off, I love edge rushers who intercept passes. If you have the athleticism to pick off screens or do what Van Ginkel did, or Tony Brackens back in the day with the Jags, who was so always like Tony Brackens. I just love that. But then like Trayvon Walker last year, juking people. I think that was week 8 last year. You had A.J. Epinesa juked Dalton right after the play, almost got it into the end zone. But that set up the touchdown to make it 19-3 before the half.
I
and it
prefer
was pretty much over.
I prefer the trucking of the quarterback rather than the juking of him once you've intercepted him. The Anthony Nelson, like
Was that Chandler Jones on Mac Jones a couple on that?
Yeah, where
that
he
play
just
a couple
runs him
years ago?
over. I
Yeah.
think that's a better. I prefer that as an aesthetic.
I don't
right?
know. When
You've already
show-
intercepted the guy. I mean, poor old Spencer Rattler yesterday. We'll get to that later, but he got his pass got picked off, and then he just got bullied, just like blasted out of the way, and as Nelson walks his way into the end zone, that's cooler than juking him.
It's funny because Epinesa and Anthony Nelson are like the same guy to me, like edge 3, rotational guy. They'll have a few good plays per year, but they're just a very good third edge rusher to have on your team. Both had those big interceptions.
A
yesterday.
huge difference in this game was just pressure. Like Carolina basically didn't get much.
They did a pretty good job with the blitz package and creating some indecision. I thought the broadcast highlighted that early, but it's not enough against Buffalo.
They just didn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the plays we talked about, Josh Allen basically did that to himself, trying to make a play against the entire defense and didn't manage to get it done. Whereas on the other side, like, I mean, Andy Dalton was sacked 7 times. They got him a lot over the course of the game, and on top of that, you had the turnovers, and it's a bit reductive to be like basically Buffalo goes as the turnover number goes, but there are a couple of games where they've wobbled this year. They randomly lost the turnover battle for the first time since like 1978, and then this game they're back to they didn't turn it over. Carolina turned it over 3 times, and that's all she wrote.
Buffalo's heading into. By the way, yeah, you mentioned Dalton getting sacked 7 times, including just before the half. They couldn't get the field goal off in time just before the half. It all was pretty bad as far as the turnovers and big plays from a Carolina perspective. But they had Dalton in there. Don't know when Bryce Young's going to come back here. They did their best to get the ball to Tedero and McMillan, who still looks awesome, but that was pretty much it for Carolina. Buffalo's heading to their in-season Super Bowl next week. They've got Kansas City at home, the CBS game of the week. They got Michael Hoyt back off of his suspension. He had a strip sack in there of Dalton, maybe 2 sacks. So they're starting to get the defensive line in order there. It was another one of those games where Josh Allen doesn't have to drop back a ton, but we'll see, from a game flow perspective, what they need next week against Kansas City, where they've done a really nice job in the regular season. You still want to win this game when it comes to home field and setting things up. If you're thinking long-term, Buffalo still has a path to win the division despite being in second place behind the Patriots. They still have a clear path to win the division, have the number 1 seed, do all the things, but they needed it, show some life coming out of the bye. That's what we were asking about on Thursday. They did that, and now they've got Kansas City next week.
Yeah. They also, by the way, it was the debut of Maxwell Harrison, their first-round pick. So that's a positive thing from Buffalo's point of view. They're finally getting their first-round rookie into the season.
All right, anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right, this was a fun one. The New York Jets, 39. Cincinnati Bengals, 38. The Jets get their first win. They move to 1-7. Bengals fall to 3-5. Lots to discuss in this game. It was the one close game yesterday. The one.
At least by the
close
end.
game.
Yeah, like for various stretches of the game, it was not particularly close.
It was a look-away game. I call it a look-away game.
Yeah.
You look away, right? Every time, are the Jets going to make it interesting? No, they're not, because the Bengals, every time the Jets got somewhat close, like within a score, the Bengals got up 2 scores. Seemingly the entire game until they stopped doing that.
Yes.
But it was a lot of explosive plays from both sides in this one.
Yeah, 39-38. The Jets put up 500 yards of offense. The Bengals almost got to 400.
I think this was just bad defense.
Yes,
man.
it was.
It was
definitely.
Sometimes there's great offense, but sometimes you just look up and you're like, Breece Hall is running straight.
And even the times where
Samaje Perine is running straight, and there's no one there.
even the times where the offense has failed, it was they failed themselves. Like it wasn't like the defense did much. There was a play. So early, the Bengals they're looking good. The Jets are doing the same old Jets stuff where you're like, how are they this bad? It's 4th and 1, and it looked like Fields checked out of a quarterback sneak to some sort of like Breece Hall wide toss play, which got buried. Like turnover on downs, loss. You're like, what? How is this the Jets? Like, this is so bad. Number one, how is he allowed to check out of something like a quarterback sneak? It's like, this is the play we've called. There is no checking out of this. This is what we're doing. And if he's doing that, how is he checking out to like a wide toss play on 4th and 1? But that happened. You're like, this is why the Jets haven't won a game this year. They're down 17-3 at this point, and he gets this. This play keeps them in the game. Like at 4th and 2 in the red zone, Justin Fields hits Tyler Johnson for a touchdown with an unblocked rusher in his face.
Incredible.
Perfect location on this. They needed that throw. If they don't make that throw, if they turn the ball over then, I think the game's done. Instead, it keeps them alive. And that was kind of the story of the game, that the Jets just about clung on to life long enough to then be able to get this comeback at the end.
That was the exact play that I highlighted. Like, if that play doesn't happen, 4th and 2, 15-yard touchdown,
yeah,
the game should be over.
It would be, I think. Because the Jets weren't really stopping the Bengals at that point. They were already, 2 scores in a hole. This would have been, I think that would have been it.
And that just made it 17-10. And this is what I kept talking about in a world where there's 7 games on. It's like, all right, the Jets got within 1. Well, then Joe Flacco hits Chase Brown. He's got a little Texas route. He runs through the defense to go up 2 scores again. Jets got within 8, 24-16. Samaje Perine runs for a 32-yard touchdown, right? So every time...
I didn't see who it was, but that was an absolutely disgraceful tackling attempt by the safety. Like, he went with the wrong shoulder. Like, he's one-on-one with the guy in the hole, and instead of... He's going... Perine is going to the safety's left, right? So you track that, and you hit him with this shoulder. Instead, he, goes across with this shoulder and just bounces off him because he can't wrap doing that. Just shockingly bad fundamentals.
Second-level run defense, linebacker, safety level for both teams, awful. The number of times the Bengals were just completely washed out of plays.
Did you see the
play? The
linebacker
level was horrendous.
Did you see the play where Chase Brown, basically mid-play, audibled out of a flea flicker?
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
And actually,
I feel like I've seen that once or twice before.
I think a sneaky, effective play if you actually did that by design. He didn't. He did it because Flacco was about to get murdered.
Teams just did that a couple. Ben Johnson did that a couple weeks ago, the fake flea flicker.
Yeah, but this wasn't a fake one. This was like, I think he was supposed to toss it back to Flacco.
But
it
effectively worked.
Standing right there and was like, nope.
But it effectively works the same way.
Yeah.
That's why the fake flea flicker that the Bears ran and some other team ran it recently too works the same way. Like, you fake the pitch back and everybody goes to the quarterback,
right.
And you're just like, oh, I'm going to run for 15.
And you just reverse course and run into the gap that everyone's just vacated.
Let's get to the tactical decisions here. So as I mentioned, the Bengals kept going up 2 scores. The Jets kept fighting back. So the Bengals have the Perine 32-yarder. They go up 31-16 late in the third quarter. Jets come back with another touchdown. So they're down 15. Breece Hall with a 5-yard touchdown. The Jets then go for 2, right? So that's the first decision to go for 2, where they're down 15. You know you need an 8, and you know you need a 7. New age thinking is go for the 8 first. If you don't get it, you're down 9. You're still down 2 scores, but you know it early. So they get it. They go for 2 and they get it. So now they're down 7. The Bengals had an answer. The Bengals offense had an answer every single time until the last drive. Until they didn't. Until Flacco was sacked for the first time. So the Bengals come back. Chase Brown with a 1-yard touchdown. So it's 38-24. So now it's a 14-point game. The Jets come right back. This was one of those plays I'm talking about. Breece Hall, 27-yard touchdown. Linebacker, second level of defense, nowhere to be seen. So Breece Hall scores the touchdown. And this is the one. It confused the announcers once again. Apologies. But they corrected it later. Someone's in their ear at least saying, hey, this happens in the NFL every single week. But they're down 14. We did a whole bit on this with Seth Walder from ESPN. He's probably the world's biggest advocate for go for 2 down 14. And we can explain that in a second. But the Jets did that. They go for 2, and they get it. And by the way, both 2-point conversions. The first one that they got, Justin Fields, his scramble drill, he scrambles in for the conversion. The first one was a pretty good play by him. The second one was very close.
The second one,
very close, Sam.
The second one was called no good to begin with, right? So it's at the goal line effectively when he catches it, driven backwards, and initially they're like, nope, no good. And then on review, they looked at it and they gave him the 2-point conversion. I was pretty staggered that they overturned that. It looked inches short to me, and I certainly didn't see any angle that conclusively showed that's definitely a bad call. We need to overturn that. That's one where I would have bet a sizable amount of money that based off it being called incomplete, or not incomplete, no good, the 2-point conversion unsuccessful. Based off that being the call on the field, I would have bet a fairly sizable chunk that you're going to stay with that. There's no obvious error in that call based off the replays.
I thought the opposite. I thought when you saw the replay, because the ball just needs to cross the goal line, that is where the super slow-mo really helps the receiving team there, because you just need a little bit of the ball to be over the goal line. I don't know if the camera angle was perfectly up the goal line. It's still, to me, it looked like it was over. So when I first saw the replay, I was like, oh, they're going to overturn this, and the Jets are down 6. And that's what they did. So I wasn't terribly surprised. It was so close, though. It was so close.
I thought it was a few inches short. And again, given that it had been called no good on the field, I was pretty amazed they overturned that.
So the Jets are sitting here. They're down 14. They get the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. So now they're within 6, right? The nerds are celebrating. The analytics people, they're saying this is the right move. Why is it the right move? You go up. If you don't get it, you can go for 2 again to tie if you score another touchdown. When you do get it, all of a sudden now, what happened with the Jets, all you need is a stop and a touchdown. A stop and a touchdown, and you've got the lead. You've got the extra point to take the lead, and that's exactly what happened. They finally stopped the Bengals' offense, sacked Joe Flacco for the first time on 3rd down. Jets drive down, and it's Breece Hall with the game-winning touchdown pass to Mason Taylor.
What a crazy play as well. It's like a halfback option pass, and initially I think Breece Hall looked at it and was like, it's not there, and I think he thought about throwing it away. Yeah. Then he thought about just running it himself. And then the third thing he decided was, you know what? I'm just going to, what the hell? Just tossed it in the end zone anyway. And lobbed it into the back corner, and Mason Taylor just mosses a guy. Was it DJ Turner?
It was DJ Turner, yeah.
That was like a very much sorry little kid.
It was like he kind of Aaron Rodgers zipped it in. He's like, well, the defenders, it was almost like exactly what you described, right? He's trying to figure out, do I throw it away? What do I do? And then he's like, defender's got his back turned. I'll just zip it in past him. And Mason Taylor did a nice job.
He just kind of fired it in there, and DJ Turner's just back to the ball, arms flailing against a much bigger guy, and Mason Taylor just little brothers him, just grabs the ball from him and scores. Incredible play by Taylor. Fascinating play from Breece Hall because it was 1st and goal. You had time, and the only thing that could be terrible is you turning it like an interception, right? Like if you throw it away would have been fine, running it yourself would have been fine. A lot of things, like everything that went through his mind would have been a reasonable thing to do given that it was 1st and goal. And instead he's like, nah, what the hell? I'm going to take a shot, and gets it done because Mason Taylor, stuns DJ Turner in the end zone.
So that ends up becoming the game winner. The Jets go up 39-38. The decision to go for the 2, down 8 essentially, but down 14 heading into that touchdown, ends up becoming the difference in the game for the Jets. So kudos to Aaron Glenn, not only for his first win, but for making that decision that led to the win. They still needed to make a stop.
Yep.
Cincinnati, 1 week removed from Joe Flacco leading a game-winning field goal drive, and the way the defense for the Jets, for both defenses really, had been playing, there was still plenty of time for that.
Yeah, almost 2 minutes.
And then Princeton drops the ball.
Princeton drops the ball again.
His fourth drop in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yossi for Cincinnati. So the Jets hadn't stopped the Bengals the entire game until those last 2 possessions, really.
Yep.
A punt and a turnover on downs. They had forced 2 punts earlier, but they'd given up a ton of points, and they finally made 2 stops at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the defense showed up right at the death. That's a bad few weeks from Yossi. Those are critical passes that it wasn't an ideal ball location or anything, but you got to catch that.
So from a storyline perspective for both teams, let's start with the Jets. They get the win. They don't have to deal with the 2008 Lions, 2016 Browns, the winless seasons. No champagne for those teams, as I've said. But the Jets finally get a win. They did it without Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
They did it without Sauce Gardner. They did it in a week where the owner said Justin Fields has a bad rating and can't complete a pass.
That's the big thing. I mean, credit to Justin Fields for. I mean, he was asked about that. Obviously, he gave a decent answer where he's basically like, I didn't hear it, don't really care. I'm just going out here trying to win a game. And then he did. He went out, got the game. As we said, like critical play to keep them in it when they're down, about to basically be out of sight. He finds that touchdown to Tyler Johnson in the end zone. Fields made enough plays in here. They put up 500 yards of offense, so stuff was going right even outside of Justin Fields. But huge game for him. That would have been an awful situation where your owner basically throws you under the bus. Your head coach ends up going with you anyway because basically you didn't have a choice at that point. And if you'd lost again to the Bengals and Joe Flacco, it would have been rough. Instead, you find a way of getting the win. You put up 500 yards of offense. You finally get off the schneid, and things are good for a week.
Yeah, and Fields in the offense, they've had 2 games now against the AFC North, against the Steelers week 1 and then the Bengals in this week. Now, knowing what we know about the Steelers defense and the Bengals defense, you got to adjust for that.
Yeah.
That's been a huge factor. Fields, every time he was pressured against the Broncos, essentially was sacked.
Yes.
And then in this game,
he wasn't pressured.
Wasn't pressured
At
against
all.
Cincinnati. And Trey Hendrickson was back. He's still battling injury, but we already know when Trey Hendrickson's not getting pressure for Cincinnati, no one else really is. Miles Murphy, the defensive tackles, Shamar Stewart's been back these last couple weeks. You haven't heard much from him after he had that really nice debut back in week 1. Cincinnati's defense was a big question. We were thinking maybe the scheme change. Give up 39 against the Jets in this one. They gave the Steelers their best offensive output last week. They have not been good, especially in recent weeks here in Cincinnati.
I believe nobody on that Jets offensive line gave up more than a pressure, which is massive for a game like this. And yeah, Trey Hendrickson's working his way back from injury. He's not 100%, but him not being a factor in the game meant that the Jets were not facing pressure at any point. And yeah, that is a huge variable for them.
So from the Jets' perspective, to get the first win, this wasn't the exact level of feisty. I thought they were going to be 20-17 feisty, not let's put up 30 against the Steelers in week 1 and beat the Bengals 39-38 in this game level of feisty. But the type of feisty, like run game heavy, Fields makes some throws, makes some plays with his legs, and the defense creates some volatility, which they didn't do until the end of the game here. But Jets get the win, so at least they won't go winless.
Indeed.
From a Cincinnati perspective, all of the optimism that they pulled out from the Thursday night game against Pittsburgh, they were supposed to be like, hey, we got the Jets coming to town. We're going to go to 4-4 and, in second place in the division. Pittsburgh's got to play the Packers. We're going to be a half game out of first place.
Yeah.
Coming out of this week after beating Pittsburgh. Bears coming to town next week, then a bye. Golden opportunity for the Bengals. Instead, a disastrous loss, losing a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter and falling to 3-5.
Yeah, a huge blown opportunity more than anything else. The fact that Pittsburgh losing, it means it's less of a catastrophe than it could have been, and the win last week was more important than this loss. But had they been able to back that up with the win against the Jets, then you're exactly where you said they were. They would have been half game back, absolutely alive for an extreme period of time going through this division. Even if Baltimore goes on a run, it's going to take them a few weeks. So, everything would have been pretty good. And Flacco played well again. It's not like the wheels fell off the Flacco wagon and suddenly we're back to, oh, there he goes. There's old man Joe with the 3, catastrophic plays or whatever. Flacco played pretty well, certainly well enough to win the game, had the Bengals defense shown anything. But yeah, it just goes down as a blown chance to really capitalize on those 2 great Flacco games.
Yeah, the Bengals offense still cooking overall. A bunch of short passes to Jamar Chase, 44-yarder to T. Higgins. Chase Brown looks much better. They got P. Ryan involved in the run game, and Flacco, like you said, made good decisions, spread the ball around. For the most part, they put up 38 points.
Yeah.
Bengals offense was good. Their defense is a disaster.
Yeah.
And that's as much as we were talking about, hey, they're going to get back in the division and this and that, the defense is still a huge question. Blown gaps, and like I said, the linebacker and safety level for Cincinnati, combined with the lack of pass rush, it's rough right now.
Yeah, the Jets ran for 250 yards on them.
Yeah, was bad. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
It was the most competitive game of the week.
Yeah.
Let's go. Houston Texans 26, San Francisco 49ers 15. Texans moved to 3-4. Niners fall to 5-3. This was a really lopsided game as far as time of possession and Houston moving the ball. Like a couple tight window throws from Mac Jones kind of made it close. Other than that, though, complete domination here from the Texans.
Yeah. Insert, Al Pacino, Godfather 3, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in meme for this.
Me, for real.
For the Texans.
I've hated on every team all year except the Texans, and finally decided to pick against them, and they
show up.
This was good C.J. Stroud, good offense, good defense. I mean, everything was good for Houston. This was the team I thought was ready to challenge the top teams in the AFC. They finally, I don't want to say put it all together, but they put together a really good all-around game, maybe the best of the season for the Texans.
Yeah. The first ridiculous sort of stat of this game was that for the first half, the Texans had the ball for 24 minutes and 31, I think, seconds of the first half, which is the longest time of possession that any team has had in a half since 2009. So like 15 years, that's the longest.
Did you see who it was?
In 2009?
Yeah.
No.
Because I do remember there was a 2009 game, Monday Night Football. I think it was Dolphins-Colts, where the Peyton Manning's Colts did not have the ball at all, but they still won. Like every time they had the ball, he had he actually called a game-winning screen or something like that. I don't know if that was the game or not, but I heard that stat. 45 plays run by the Texans in the first half.
They basically had the ball for almost the entirety of the first half.
Yeah. And then to start the second half, usually, these game flow situations happen, and then it's like, well, the team didn't get the ball. They'll get the ball in the second half, and it evens out. Texans forced a 3-and-out at the beginning of the second half as well.
There you go. There's the meme.
Look at that. We got memes up already.
Uh-huh.
Texans just pulling me right back in. Doesn't help my picks because I picked against them, but
no. But it means that next week you'll be wrong as well.
All right,
because you'll be back in. They'll play terribly next week. So it is worth noting that the two times in recent weeks where the Texans offense or the Texans generally have looked, back, it's been against teams that have generated basically zero pass rush against them. You had the Baltimore Ravens defense when they were at their worst, at their depth. And then you have this San Francisco defense where a week ago we were all praising the no-name guys that actually showed up in a big way on primetime and had an amazing game. And I think certainly I got maybe carried away with that, and we're like, oh, they'll be fine. It turns out maybe there's a shelf life to how long you can do that. And this week the no-name defense just generated nothing. They had no pressure. They weren't able to get Stroud at all. And if you don't pressure Stroud, he's good. We know that already. We've seen it in the past. Like, this is not a surprise, even without Nico Collins, who's not in the lineup, and you're just dealing with Iowa State's receiving core. You don't pressure C.J. Stroud, you're going to have problems.
My biggest issue with Stroud, particularly the Monday night game against Seattle, was how he was handling the pressure, right? Like running backwards and just making bad decisions, and then he felt completely sped up and everything.
Yeah.
But
we know these things don't scale. That's the thing. Like, it's not just a case of, well, a guy is handling pressure when there's a lot of it pretty badly. So even if you take it down a notch, he's still going to handle the pressure badly. But not always. Sometimes if you simply reduce the volume of pressure from unmanageable to manageable, the guy goes from not handling it well to handling it fine. And I think that's what you deal with Stroud, that, yeah, if he's going to get buried every single play, then sure, he's going to like, not panic, but he's going to fold in on himself the way a lot of quarterbacks will. But if you simply scale it down, he goes back to being a good quarterback even when pressured.
And even without Nico Collins, just a lot to like about Houston's offense.
I'm joking about the Iowa State receiving core thing, but all those guys are pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Jalen Noel in particular, him and C.J. Stroud have really dialed in the last couple of weeks. Jalen Noel on deep passes is such a good player, and he doesn't get seen that way because of the style of receiver he is, but actually the dude deep down the field is amazing.
He's so good. He had the 44-yarder. I mean, he's at the point. We've been begging for more passes to the two rookie Iowa State receivers, which, by the way, Hutchinson's in year 4.
Yeah.
He looks really good this year.
Yes.
Xavier Hutchinson. He looks really good. I've been asking for more passes to the rookies, but the reason why we wanted to put Jalen Noel, who went in the third round, the reason why we had him as a second rounder, I think we paired him with the Titans a bunch. And I'm like, man, I could picture Cam Ward throwing the ball down the field to Jalen Noel once or twice a game. Well, now Stroud has the ability to do that. The 44-yarder was beautiful. Do that once or twice a game. The same way the Lions used to do it with Khalif Raymond, the same way they started to do it with Jamison Williams. He's a deep threat receiver that needs a couple opportunities every game. But they hit that 44-yarder that set up a Jaden Higgins touchdown. So the Texans were up 13-0. They're up 16-0 with a minute left in the half. And the only reason why the Niners even made it close was, I told you, Mac Jones throws this tight window throw to George Kittle right before the half on National Tight Ends Day. So National Tight Ends Day. And then one later to Juwan Jennings on 3rd and 17 that eventually set it up, another touchdown to make it 23-15. Like, we're at two train wreck tight window throws away from Mac Jones, from the Niners getting shut out here, basically.
Yeah,
that's
really
what it was. I mean, the Niners had to make those plays, but that's how good I think the Texans' defense was.
Oh, it throttled
to make
the 49ers.
Everything so difficult for the Niners when they actually had the ball.
Yeah, it absolutely throttled the 49ers. I mean, they got very little going. At one point in the game, I think Joe Flacco was outgaining Christian McCaffrey in terms of rushing yardage. I think eventually McCaffrey overcame him by a bit, but 25 yards for McCaffrey on the ground. Mac Jones almost had as many rushing yards as Christian McCaffrey did. Will Anderson was all over the offense basically all the way through the game. Very little to – I mean, this was also some record of a Shanahan offense in terms of how little they had the ball played numbers, right? Like they ran – I forget what number of plays they ran, but
I got it. 44 plays for the Texans.
Which is like a record low for Kyle Shanahan.
And despite all that, because the Texans had to settle for 3 field goals in the first half, it was still a 2-score game late. And Mac Jones heaves it up. When did he throw that pick? I mean, they got it to 23-15. Texans got up 11. Oh, yeah, it was an 11-point game. And he heaves it up into the end zone. Kamari Lassiter with a really nice interception in the end zone. That all but ended it for Houston. You know, they had a sack at the end where the two defensive ends, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, met at Mac Jones. The defense just made a bunch of big plays when they needed to.
We were getting ahead of ourselves. We'll get to this on Thursday. But our next opponent for Houston is Denver. So if you're expecting this to continue, I mean, the 3 wins this season – Tennessee don't really have a pass rush. Baltimore didn't have a pass rush. And San Francisco don't have a pass rush.
That's a really good point, Sam. It has looked like night and day.
Yeah.
The Texans offense.
Meanwhile, the 4 losses, Rams, very good pass rush. Tampa Bay Bucks blitz the living crap out of you, reasonable pass rush. Jacksonville, pretty good pass rush. And Seattle, very good pass rush. So it's literally the 3 teams that can't get any pressure. Houston win. The teams that can get pressure, game over, and Denver has the best pass rush in football.
And I said it on the instant reaction last night. The fact that the Niners were 5-2 coming into this game, given all the injuries, given the fact that they haven't pressured the quarterback at all, minor miracle to get to this point.
Oh yeah, I mean,
for the Niners.
That's the thing. Everyone's a prisoner of the moment, and what they were able to do last week was genuinely remarkable, given the personnel that they have. It's just in your mind, you're like, well, so they'll do that again. Only they didn't, because they don't have the personnel that's capable of doing that against, a team that's able to do what Houston can do when you don't pressure them. So it doesn't take anything away from the previous 49ers performance, but this was a bridge too far.
Either way, I thought this was the best Stroud had looked. They got Woody Marks involved, but he had a couple big runs in there, a 50-yard check down as well that he turned, a check down that he turned into a 50-yard reception. So they got the rookies involved. Stroud looked pretty good, but the big caveat, as you say, is they're not facing the same type of fierce pass rush that they had been facing. I also wanted to shout out the touchdown that Stroud threw to Xavier Hutchinson was a beauty. Crossing route, hit him in stride. Hutchinson just looked quick, fast, ran away from the defense on that one. They've got some playmakers to throw to. I want more from the rookie Iowa State guys. Hutchinson is having a good year, and if you get Nico Collins back healthy, they've got people to throw to, which is why I've believed in them for the first 7 weeks of the season, but not in week 8 here.
No.
Anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right, got to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA's back. FanDuel's your home for live betting. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now's the perfect time to join because FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You can visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's FanDuel.com/33rd. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.com or sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org. In Maryland, Hope is here. Visit gamblinglinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's go. New England Patriots 32, Cleveland Browns 13. Patriots move to 6-2. Browns fall to 2-6. Drake May, another pretty solid game despite getting sacked 6 times. 5 from Myles Garrett, 18 of 24 for 282. For Drake May. That's 11.8 per attempt, 3 touchdowns, and a pick.
Myles Garrett, 5 sacks in the game. Absolutely. I mean, this was the game you were talking about, right? We got Will Campbell getting tested in a way you don't get tested previously.
And Campbell, it was really only 2 against him. And both times, I think he had tight end help.
Yeah.
Both times that he gave up a sack, he had tight end help. Let me just get this out there really quick. It's we spend a lot of our time. We try to have high end football analysis, right?
Try.
Why people follow us.
We try.
We have a history of being with the player evaluation company, right? And we have a certain way of looking at the game. This is an interesting one. I thought Drake May was very good once again. If you go back and watch, if you have the access, go back and watch Myles Garrett's 5 sacks, and then go back a couple weeks and watch Myles Garrett against Broderick Jones in the Steelers. And a lot of the debates and the reason why you look at how the pass rusher does in one-on-one situations. The difference in all of those plays. Like if you just watch Myles Garrett against the blockers in this game versus other games where he didn't have any sacks, there's really no difference other than Drake May holding on to the ball and double clutching. And I'm not saying this is a Drake May fault. I'm not saying he's at fault for these. May not have been anyone open. It was good coverage on the back end. To get 5 sacks, you need something else to happen, which is the quarterback not to throw the ball.
Right.
There was no point where Drake May was like about to throw to his first read and Myles Garrett just sacked him. It didn't happen. He was always like a little double clutch, a little double pump, or he's getting to his second read. So my point is, for Myles Garrett, it was just another game for him. Beating double teams. Yeah, they had tight end help. He'd go around the tight end, whooped Will Campbell a couple times, whooped Morgan Moses once or twice. There was a boot play that Drake May definitely should have thrown away.
Right.
You have to. And Myles Garrett played it great, right? So my whole point in this is, if you're just evaluating the pass rusher, it was the same game Myles Garrett plays almost every week. He beat everybody in front of him. The difference was May held the ball, or the coverage was pretty good for an extra split second, and Garrett finished those plays to the tune of 5 sacks.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope our listeners know this anyway, but this is why, you hear people whinge at some stages of like, oh, pass rush win rate is a ridiculous stat. You're grading almost plays like this. Why would you do that? What's the benefit? Well, the point is, philosophically, that generally speaking, as a pass rusher, once you've beaten your block, whether or not you end up getting rewarded with a sack, a hit, a hurry, or nothing at all is largely out of your control. It's down to other things. And that could be all the way from like the quarterback is terrible and he's going to hang out of the ball and he's going to let you, get a strip sack at the end of that, all the way to, there's coverage somewhere or something else happens that lets it, like, it can be a whole wide range of things, but generally it's not really within your control. Now it is to a degree because there are guys that, quarterback jukes you and you either make the play or you don't, right? That's a tangible difference. But
right.
There's a reason that you say, I think it's a much larger percentage of those plays that are not within the control of the pass rusher whatsoever. So the whole point about rewarding those plays is you say, look, your primary responsibility was beat your blocker and create pressure. You did that. Whether or not that is a hurry, a hit, or a sack is kind of not really within your control. So the bigger thing to differentiate is recording the wins. And Myles Garrett gets those wins more than basically anybody else in the NFL on a regular basis. And this was a game where if you watch it, you just start watching the tape, the freaky way that he's able to beat the blocker, like so the Euro step inside of a dude that's pretty good, and just whoops him immediately. Like, there's nobody else in the NFL can do that. Nobody.
And one of his best rushes that I retweeted last night was against the great Morgan Moses.
The great.
He beat him in like 1.8 seconds, but the ball was out.
Right.
So that's why, this isn't the story of the game. The Patriots won. They won it handily. It's not about the story of the game. But
at least Myles Garrett deserves a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, exactly.
Number one, 5 sacks. That's cool.
I almost want to say this just for Steelers fans, because this game happens every year. And I just wanted to say, go watch. So if you watch Myles Garrett, he beat Broderick Jones and other Steelers pass blockers 4 or 5 times in a similar way a couple of weeks ago. The difference was Aaron Rodgers got rid of the ball. Mm-hmm. And for that to happen, you need a quarterback to make the decision quickly. You need a receiver to be open. You need a scheme that is setting that up, right? You need these other things to happen. The difference in this one, again, I'm not placing blame on Drake May or whatever it is. May didn't get rid of the ball in rhythm on any of those sacks. And Garrett finished all those plays. He deserves credit. So I just, from an evaluation point and seeing the game through a different lens and through different eyes, that's how I saw it. Great game by Myles Garrett. I feel like I see this game from him every week where he's unblockable. In this particular game, though, he had opportunities to finish plays and he took advantage of it, and it led to 5 sacks.
Yeah. And he then passes Reggie White for the most sacks before turning 30 in NFL history. I think he got up to 112 and a half, wherever he started with, because of the 5 sacks. It's not, it's anytime you're comparing eras in anything, it's complicated, right? Like Reggie White spent the first couple of years of his career in the USFL, where he was racking up 1 million sacks there as well. So he didn't get started in the NFL until a couple of years after Myles Garrett did. Other people were pointing out, I forget who they were on Twitter, but like Deacon Jones, that predates the sack kind of
1982 is when the sack stat started.
So, but people have done work to kind of reconstruct those of what they would look like. The NFL, I don't think, has adopted those officially, but if you were, Deacon Jones would have had more by actually quite a lot. I think he had 120 something. Deacon Jones was a freak.
The sack stat is our age.
Yeah. There was one other guy whose name I forget also was ahead of Garrett. So on the one hand, you've got guys that potentially had more. On the other hand, I kind of think it's harder to get sacks in these days, even though there's way more pass attempts. There's more that there's no chance.
There's more in volume, though. Because 17-game schedule, first of all.
Yes.
But there's so many more passes. You still have more opportunity.
But so many of those passes are not. Like every pass in the 1980s was a 5-step play action drop where you had all day to sack the quarterback. Half the passes now are not real opportunities to sack the quarterback. I would like to see, I don't know what the answer to that is.
Scrambling quarterbacks.
I don't know. I would like to see somebody who's not us run that study. I would be curious to see if the broad data right now says, is it easier or harder to sack the quarterback in today's era of pass-happy offenses? Either way, Myles Garrett, it's cool, I think, to see him get that recognition of, look, this is the best pass rusher in the NFL, and now he's setting records that, however asterisky you want to say, well, Reggie White was without a couple of years, and also Deacon Jones and blah, blah. The dude's putting himself up there with, like, the best pass rushers of all time and deserves to be there because he's a freak.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that in this game anyway. Again, it didn't end up affecting the game whatsoever, but I think it was worth discussing, and it's worth an evaluation point that Garrett is so good every week, and got to show it on with the 5 sacks that people got to see it through the stats as well, not just the win rate in this game. 2
more positive things for the Browns before we talk about the Patriots being very good. Amazing leap for an interception by Carson Schwarzenegger, the rookie. That was a great play.
Drake May was asked about that they said, "What'd you see?" He said, "I just didn't expect him to be able to jump that high."
Yeah,
or
legitimately.
I forgot that he was able to jump or something
reasonably
like that.
so. That was a crazy play, and all it did was set up the Browns to miss a field goal. So it's like even the really good plays they make on defense, not just Myles Garrett, but other people, doesn't make a difference because the offense was awful. Harold Fannin, though, is a monster. The rest of the offense, not so much. Harold Fannin is really good, another rookie. So remember, when we crap on the Browns over the course of this season, which will happen, and jobs will be called for, and we'll be looking to fire everybody by the end of the season, this rookie class that they have, maybe outside of the quarterbacks, actually does look very good. Quinshon Judkins looks great. Carson Schlesinger is a baller. Harold Fannin looks like a monster. Like, this class that they deliberately sort of eschewed quarterback to go drafting all these other guys looks very good. And if the plan all along was, we don't like these quarterbacks, we'll come back for that next year, we're gonna focus on ballers right now, forget the quarterback thing until day 3. If that was the plan all along, remember that when it comes to the end of the season and we're talking about firing Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski and everybody else.
No, I agree. I think every week I feel like we talk about the Browns' young players and having some hope for the future, as we'll talk about it in the offseason a lot more. But
now, Patriots, they were awesome.
So I thought New England, so it was 9-7 at the half. It was a close game. 3 field goals for New England in the first half. They gave up a touchdown to Fannin. They came out to start the second half. I thought they did a really nice job. If you go back and watch that first drive of the second half, Josh McDaniels, misdirection. He got Travion Henderson loose on the edge a couple times. Remember, Travion, he had just 1 carry, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
10 carries for 75 in this game, and I don't know how much. I don't even know if this is tracked anywhere. I feel like the NFL is throwing toss plays are just like through the roof here. Not the old buck sweep type stuff, but toss plays with outside zone, with pin and pull, run blocking. But they just got Travion Henderson on the edge. They were using misdirection. Off of that, it was a really good drive to start the second half, and then they ran away with it. So the Patriots go up 16-7, and then Dylan Gabriel throws an interception to Robert Spillane. Patriots score again, 23-7. Then Drake May hits Kayshon Boutte for their weekly deep ball for 39 yards. So the Patriots just dominated the third quarter. And I thought it was a nice mix of play calling, mixing it up, forcing the turnover, and then Drake May just downfield pinpoint accuracy again, which, by the way, we raved about Myles Garrett. The fact that May did not crumble or collapse despite Myles Garrett, this fierce defensive line. He wasn't under a ton of heavy pressure, but all the pressure led to those sacks, and he still bounced back and made a ton of big throws.
I thought that was really impressive from Drake May. I mean, it's a different test. Every week, the last sort of few weeks during this run where he's been pretty spectacular, it's been a very different task that he's been dealt with, and he's answered every single one of them. You had the breakout game against Buffalo, and then everyone was like, well, yeah, but, back it up, right? And then he backs it up against a worse opponent, but a potential trap game. And this was a game where he was put under a lot of pressure, like serious pressure. You had to think about every single snap. Because of the way that Myles Garrett was winning, it's not even the volume of pressure. It's that, that if you're not really paying attention, Myles Garrett's going to destroy you in this game because he's already done it 3, 4, 5 times. For him to not care at all, just keep going, keep trucking, deliver the deep shot, still make the passes. Really impressive from Drake May again. Kayshon Boutte becoming the new Alec Pierce, just a guy who's in there for 50 yards once a game, every game. Huge credit as well, Jalen Hawkins with a spectacular one-handed interception.
Oh, that was really good. Yeah.
Crazy play.
I will say from Cleveland's perspective, as much as I defended Dylan Gabriel's arm strength, he sure does play like a guy who's got a limited arm. Just saying. Stylistically, all the short stuff. The one time he tries to go downfield, it does get picked off. Gabriel struggling out there. Now, they lost Tyson Campbell to injury on the defensive side. They lost Quinshon Judkins to injury. The Browns, that was a big factor there as well. But look, I think high level for New England, after the Bills win, their next 3 games being against the Saints, Titans, and Browns, and it was like, all right, if you're gonna have a really good record and challenge in the AFC East, you got to make sure you take care of business, and they keep doing that. And we hadn't seen that, right? Them being front runners and favorites, and Drake May being a favorite, making sure you just take care of business every week, and they've done that. it was a slow start, but like I said, dominated that third quarter as they should. And it's it's not like a big win in the grand scheme of. We just saw the Falcons really slip up against a lesser Miami, what should have been a lesser Miami team, right? Not slipping up in these games is huge.
Yeah. And
then for May, putting up about 12 yards per attempt against that fierce pass rush and what they were able to do, I thought was passing a test for the young quarterback.
It's a really interesting season now for the Patriots because they are on this accelerated curve of you've gone from, we don't really know what they are this season. They could be one of the worst teams in the NFL. They could be a really good team. I mean, all of a sudden they're a legit contender, not just for, they could be the front runners to that division. I mean, they're obviously on that kind of, they're half game ahead at this point, but they're you can realistically be seen as this is a team that could beat Buffalo to this division. But in order to do that, you have to immediately embrace this idea of you're good now, right? There's no more time for, we'll win some, we'll lose some. Next year is the year we'll really be good. You're in pole position in a division that features one of the best teams in the NFL and a team that everyone expects to be a Super Bowl contender. That, by definition, makes you one of those as well. Can you handle that expectation given that it was unexpected?
Last thing on this one, Drake May, every week seemingly completion percentages and setting some level of record or streaks or whatever. I believe the new streak is 7 games of 200-plus yards and a passer rating over 100, something like that. Either way, the only people on the list are
Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning, and Mahomes.
Yeah.
In 07, one of Peyton's best seasons, and Mahomes 18. So right. He's starting to do that every week. The nitpick with May is going to be he had 6 incompletions and he had 6 sacks. And I think it's the naked boot to Myles Garrett. You got to make a better decision. He almost got hurt. You can get hurt on that play. You're trying to outrun Myles Garrett, who read the naked boot perfectly. You got to bury that. So May is completing 75. He completed 75% of his passes in this game. He's completed 75% this season. I would rather see that down closer to 70 with fewer sacks for Drake May. So those are the people who criticize passer rating, and rightfully so. 6 sacks, 6 incompletions. There's probably 2 or 3, maybe 4 of those plays where he gets sacked, where he would be better off burying it, killing the completion percentage a little bit, and not taking the negative play. That would be the nitpick on Drake May at this point in his career, where he has been precision throwing the ball down the field. I think his decision-making as far as putting the ball in harm's way has been great. He had the 1 interception in this game. He had a 28-yard run in this game, so he's picking up yards with his legs. The nitpick is cut down on the sack rate, throw the ball away a few more times per week, and I think that's going to be a big step in his game as he develops. But outstanding. I mean, he looks by far the best year 2 quarterback this year.
Yeah.
And just continues to improve.
And I think a big part of that learning is, Myles Garrett's a freak, and you don't see those every week.
Yeah, I mean, generally, that is the case for sure. Anything else on this one?
Nope.
Let's go Eagles and the Giants. Eagles get the win 38-20. They move to 6-2. Giants fall to 2-6. Lot to discuss in this game.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
I mean, high level, Eagles without A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Let's just say high level. They got the run game going for the first time all season. Saquon Barkley starts with a 65-yard touchdown. That was a bit of a flashback to last year. I know you want to get to the officiating and all that stuff. But the Eagles looked like the Eagles again, where they can create big plays in the pass game. Second straight week they've done that, even without A.J. Brown. Saquon had a $150 on the ground, had another touchdown through the air.
Was his first carry? He ends up going for a huge
65.
Yeah, but it was his first 20-plus yard carry of the season.
Yeah,
and he ends up it's another one all the way like last year, right? If you give him the crease and they got him they got him one-on-one with the safety before he had to do anything. Now, and this is it's a perfect example of what Saquon does within this offense. They had Landon Dickerson back as well, which is a huge, I think, thing for this offense. He's a really good run blocker. But they got Saquon basically one-on-one to the safety, which is a pretty good run before anything happens. And then Saquon is so good that the safety, Tyler Nubin, didn't get within like 2 yards of him. I mean, he's one-on-one, and Saquon just runs around him. Nubin doesn't get anywhere near him, and he just houses the thing. He had 17 of those 20-plus yard runs last season. This was his first this year.
So that was like the flashback to 2024 Saquon. So now he leaves early due to injury.
Yep.
Tank Bigsby comes in. He also ran for 100 in this game, by the way. But Hurts was pretty efficient, 4 touchdowns through the air, including just a straight-up jump ball to Jahan Dotson late. But on the scoreboard, the Eagles not only put up 38, handled the Giants' comeback attempt for the most part. They got Dallas Goedert to the end zone a couple times, big one before the half. Good Eagles team played well. There was some officiating questions, though, too.
This was one of the worst officiated games I can remember in the NFL. And I'm not saying in one direction or the other. I think it was across the board. If you added them all up and were, putting a tally of did it benefit the Giants or the Eagles, I think overall the balance would say it benefited the Eagles. But the broader point was it was just horrendous officiating from really start to finish. It also, I think, exposed a ridiculous flaw in the rules.
Which was?
I don't even want to make it about the push play, which a lot of people have done, the tush-push play. The Eagles had a tush-push. They get a first down from it. And the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau, strips the ball from Jalen Hurts. He, reaches across. He wasn't really going to get there. Reaches across the first down line. And Kayvon Thibodeau just takes the ball away from him. Hits the ground. You're like, oh, fumble. You can't do that. That only works at the goal line. Once you break the plane of the goal line, the play's over. That doesn't work for a random 4th and 1 in the middle of the field. If you extend that and somebody takes it away from you, it's a fumble. So live ball, fumble, Giants ball, whistles blow. All right. And then they're like, nope, forward progress. We call forward progress. So turnovers doesn't count. So, and everyone was like, well, that's crazy. The whistle didn't come in until seconds after the turnover. What are you talking about? And it didn't. There's multiple replays of this play, and the whistle is quite clearly way after the turnover. So the idea that, the whistle blew the play dead incorrectly, that's not what happened. What happened is the sideline judge came in and said, no, his forward progress had simply been halted. And the rule for that is that play is dead from the moment the side judge just decides that in his head, right? That guy goes, oh, I believe his forward progress has stopped. The play's over the second that goes through his brain. I've decided the play's dead. Everyone else, nobody has any idea. Everyone else is playing on until the whistle blows.
And you dove into the rule book to confirm these are the rules here.
Yes. So you think that the play's dead when the whistle blows, but it's not. The play's dead when the side judge decides that forward progress has been halted. Now, I think there's a fair case to be made that forward progress simply was not halted in this case, and it's crazy to have decided that. But the point is, once he decides that forward progress has been stopped, the play's dead and it's not reviewable. So that's one of the craziest rules in the NFL rulebook.
It was a golden week for negated fumble recoveries and/or fumble recovery touchdowns. Banner week.
But how
that was bad.
How insane is that as a concept? The play is not over when the whistle blows. The play is over when the guy on the sideline just decides in his brain that it's done. Everyone else can wait a while. You guys playing on through this play. The play's been dead for 3 seconds. What are you doing? I haven't blown the whistle yet to tell anybody, but nothing that's happened in the last 3 seconds counts because in my brain, the play's been over.
Isn't that the opposite of the reaction? When the play clock's coming down to 0, there's a certain amount of human reaction time to see it hit 0, reach in, throw the flag, and then go. And that just gets baked in. I just didn't get the flag out there in time, so we play. We're not going to go back and review it to the letter of the law and say, play clock hit 0, then there was a snap, let's review it, right? They just it's like a human
but at least
human reaction time is baked in. But this is the opposite of that, where human reaction time isn't baked in. It's just, it happens as soon as you see it, like you said, right. And then I can go blow the whistle. And it's no, it started earlier.
And even with the play clock thing, I mean, it's literally, that's just a binary, are we running this play or not, right? Yes, it's a fuzzy line because it involves the guy watching the clock ticking down and then looking down at the ball and deciding, did he get it off in time? But all we're doing then is deciding, do we let this play run or not? It's like we're arbitrarily ending the play based off what a guy thinks in his own head, and then everyone else just has to hope that happened after something important took place. That's utterly ridiculous. So this idea of like the whistle thing is irrelevant. Everyone's like, oh, the whistle came in late. And then some random people with like tinnitus or whatever, like, he blew the whistle early. Unquestionably, no whistle happened before this turnover happened, right? What actually happened is the dude on the sideline in his head just decided the play was over. And because he decided that, it's not challengeable. Can you imagine going to the sideline explaining to Brian Daboll that's what happened? Hey, I know you think you had a turnover, but actually this lunatic on the sideline in his own brain had ended the play a second before that, so sorry. And you can't review that. That's just unlucky. Brian Daboll had like turned Tom Coughlin red, was about to blow a gasket in his brain, and you're like, reasonably so. That's an insane rule.
I thought the time that he almost lost his mind. Did he lose his mind on that one?
He lost his mind a little bit on that one. The time
Slayton
where he
one.
really almost blew it was, the Slayton pass interference late in the game, which was also ridiculous.
People in the chat asking, first off, asking if we've ever done any officiating at any level.
Yes.
Would you officiate?
I officiated the under 11 rugby league back in Dublin, the Willow Park School.
Were you good?
No, God, it was terrible.
Right.
I do remember, though.
It wasn't a criticism of us. It was more like, hey, maybe you'll get some different perspective.
Parents are unhinged at that level, and this was very early on. You have to referee the games when you're coaching at that level because, I got to pay for officials. So I was refereeing some game. It was pretty bad. I was doing a bad job, and parents on the sideline for 11-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Losing their minds at this stuff. Ball gets thrown to some guy, like hits his hands, clangs to the floor, like the clearest knock-on you'll ever see in your life. Whistle, knock on, scrum. Parent on the sideline is like screaming at me, like, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, first to admit this is not the most well-officiated game in the world. However, that is not the one to pull me up on. That is the clearest knock-on you'll ever see in your life.
Clear knock-on.
Shut up.
While we're here, my quick officiating story. I have been an official.
Okay.
Refereed youth basketball. Usually 3rd and 4th grade or 5th and 6th grade.
Right. This would have been, 11-year-olds or 6th grade?
So really quick, the third game I ever officiated as a freshman in high school, by the way. Listener of the show, Mike, and I were both assigned the same game. It was the third game we'd ever done in our life as freshmen, and we were accidentally scheduled the 8th grade travel team. So we're supposed to do like town league, kids run with, like, it's like give the kid 4 steps, but if he takes 5, call it travel. One of those. We had to do the 8th grade travel team, a team that we had just played for the year before. And it was intense, parents and the whole thing. And we had to like get some guy called in who like knew what he was doing to come in and help us. We had like a 3-man crew. We were awful. Parents were all over us. Yeah, it's a challenge. Things are fast. But especially 8th grade travel parents.
Especially.
They want things to go their way.
People were all over this play on Twitter yesterday trying to make it about the push play, the tush push, and this is why it's good. I don't even think
it's just a QB sneak.
Yeah,
though.
I don't think that the push play.
Thing.
I don't think that the push play had anything to do with this whatsoever. It just exposed this crazy element of the rules that I don't think anyone knows. That this idea of the whistle doesn't end the play. The random guy on the sideline just deciding that's what ends the play. That's utterly insane in a professional sport, in my opinion. And there were plenty of other ridiculous calls in this game. Like, as I said, I don't want to make it all about this play, but this one interests me the most because I think it's an absurd rule. The pass interference on Slayton late in the game. I thought Jackson Dart played really well again. Deep bomb to Darius Slayton, gets it, touchdown. He got that in, right? That was a touchdown at the end of it?
Would have been a touchdown to make it 2 scores?
Right. Taken off the board, we call it offensive pass interference, where the only reason he's pushing off at all is because the DB is like grabbing hold of his arm, and like at the very minimum, it's half of one, half a dozen of one, 6 of the, like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and we just let him play on. You certainly can't call that offensive pass interference on its own and take that off the board. Crazy call. Eagles fans will want you to point out that they blew a whistle during the field goal that missed, and by rule, that should have been a re-kick. I agree. However, that's one where the kick was missing anyway. Like it didn't change anything.
Somebody on Twitter
I have less sympathy for that one
to,
because they were missing the kick.
Yeah, that's the one. That's one. Actually, I'd go into that massive rule book and change it.
But by rule, that's a re-kick.
But so the rule is, if there's an inadvertent whistle, you replay the play. I would say if there's a kick and there's an inadvertent whistle and the ball's in the air,
right, let it go.
Just let it go because it's not affecting the play.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have affected the game. But I get it by the letter of the law.
But it's just another example.
So the Eagles missed the field goal. They should have had a re-kick.
Right.
Letter of the law.
It's another example of the officials in this game completely screwing something up.
That was the issue with the officiating. I know we've had other weeks where it's like there's 8 different calls that are really bad that we need to discuss. There were just procedural errors from an officiating perspective this week. And Packers-Steelers, there were just some blatant misses. And one of them they actually fixed. We'll talk about that in about an hour. Anyway. Jackson Dart, really quick. I think his time to throw in this one was like 3.6 or something like that. My one thing on Dart, I think there's far more positives than negatives. There's definitely a certain energy that he's brought to the table. And if you're objective about who he's throwing to and not having Malik Neighbors, if an elite quarterback had those level of weapons, we would say, this poor guy, right? How could he do it? And I think Dart has had this elevating effect on the Giants' offense overall. I don't know, though, if you want him playing this style like I'm all about next year for the rookie. What does next year look like? Just like Drake May in year 2 takes this big step forward. I don't think you want Jackson Dart dancing around, extending every play next year. You want to find more rhythm plays and then run when you need to. And that's the one thing I think to just keep an eye on as far as Dart and his development. He got sacked 5 times.
Yeah.
14 of 24, have the negated touchdown in there by Slayton.
Which makes a huge difference. Like when you start looking at his stats, 14 of 24 for 193.
It should be 15 of 25 for like 250.
Exactly. For like 250. He's already averaging 8 yards per attempt with the stat line as it is. You add 70 yards on top of that. You're talking about a pretty impressive statistical day, even with the sacks. He also, by the way, at one point in the game, took off scrambling, slid. Did not launch himself headfirst into a linebacker. We've got progress.
I just want to see, stylistically, more rhythm plays for Dart, even though I think that he's doing a lot to elevate that team.
I thought overall he was very impressive in this again. We also have to mention the unfortunate freak injury to Cam Scattaboo.
Yeah.
Breaks his ankle. Just a horrible, weird, unlucky injury. I mean, it's like a contested catch over the middle, and the way that he goes down with the guy, with the defensive back, just sort of ankle gets trapped underneath him. And
so I missed the actual play, and then everybody said, don't look at the Scattaboo injury. So because I missed it initially, I mean, I saw him being carted off, obviously. I don't want to go back and see it.
There has been a bizarre, a production decision at some point this offseason. Like there was clearly a meeting somewhere in every broadcast room where they went, you know what we're going to do this year? We're going to pivot away from this injury is gruesome, so we're not showing you the replay, right? Which has been the standard for the last few years. Oh, guys, this one's ugly. We're not going to show you the replay. Nobody wants to see that. To this year, we are like, okay, ready yourselves. We're queuing it up. It's going slow-mo. Yeah. We're gonna show you the replay, and then we're going to slow it down for you so you can see the moment where his soul leaves his body, right? Ready yourselves. I don't know how or why that happened, but every single broadcast this year has gone from we're not showing you the replay to buckle up, boys, this is nasty.
Need those ratings. There's somebody out there that likes to see that.
Because
as you said, he was like, help me up, boys. I'm ready to get back
up. I mean, I assume that's shock working. But yeah, Red Zone, Scott Hansen spent like 20 seconds like queuing people up. Like, guys, make sure you're ready for this one. It's pretty horrible. We've just seen it. This is going to be a nasty one. Just make sure you're ready. Show the kids out of the room, whatever. Like they spent 10 seconds hyping up this replay of Scattaboo's ankle snapping in half. And then, like the first thing Scattaboo does is like, oh, no, I'm injured. And then like looks to be walking off. Again, I assume that's shock when your ankle is pointing the wrong direction, but bummer for him. I mean, the dude's awesome, and hopefully he comes back 100% next year.
Scat had an 18-yard touchdown on there, nice little wheel route. Unfortunate. Love watching that guy play. Good win for the Eagles. One of those weird cases, too, where you play the same team 2 out of 3 weeks, so they won't see each other again. But the Eagles, I think it was important for them to make a statement the same way a statement was made against them 2 weeks ago. For all the optimism of the Giants, they're now 2-6. Heartbreaker last week against the Broncos. Lose to the Eagles here. Eagles took care of business. They're at 6-2, still very much in the mix, and I think they've, salvaged, the potential collapse after the 2-game losing streak, including one to the Giants. Come back strong these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and as much as they lost and it ended up being relatively comfortable, I think this was encouraging from the Giants in that they kind of banked up the last game. It's not like they showed up and this time they were just blown off the field. They were competitive in this game and got hosed by the refs on a couple of occasions that would have made it, closer, if not close. I think this kind of banked up what they did the first time, right? The first time was the first real Jackson Dart. Oh, wow, that was really impressive. He was good again, and they were close enough that you're like, the first game wasn't a fluke.
Something to build off of with the Giants, and I think that's all you were really looking for with Dart this season.
Yeah.
And then, the rest of the young players, just something to continue to build off of. And I think they've at least established that. We'll see how it goes the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got no more use for this game. One more. No, we're into the 4 o'clock window. Bucs Saints. Bucs get the win 23-3 over the Saints. Bucs had 7 negated defensive touchdowns now. It was close. Every time you looked up, Antoine Winfield's trying to score a touchdown.
I tweeted this, the entire story of this game was Antoine Winfield celebrating in the end zone and then the officials telling him why he didn't score.
There's so many times I enjoy rolling in on a Monday morning, talking to you about football games, and I hear some things that I completely missed. Like you just had a completely different perspective on stuff, and then there's other things that were just very much on the same page. That was the one. Like my one takeaway of this game is almost touchdowns from Antoine Winfield.
It just seemed every other play seemed to be Antoine Winfield scoring, and then the rest being like, not so fast.
It all started, so I love this. The edge. It was a banner week for edge threes. AJ Epinesa.
What a game from Nelson.
And then Anthony Nelson forces a fumble on Spencer Rattler early, and then has the
which was another punch in the head. Did you see this?
Oh, yeah, he punched
so
him in
it
the
looked
head.
like he just came in from behind, chasing. Rattler goes off to scramble. Nelson chasing him down from behind. Comes in like tomahawk chop on the ball, turnover. Bad start.
Maybe
right?
that should be the new.
When you watch it, he did tomahawk chop the ball. Also, on the way through, clocked him in the face mask on the way down. So like full, defensive lineman and a big one, not like a small, undersized defensive lineman, like hefty defensive lineman, is like full arm club coming down to swipe this ball, blast the dude in the face mask, and then knocks the ball out. I don't know what that does. Like, I've never been hit that way whilst holding a football, but I imagine getting hit that hard in the face mask on its way through to testing your ball security.
Softens you a little bit, right? And then yeah.
On its way through to testing your ball security has to have an impact. And
that's how I would teach the peanut punch.
And this is fresh off the NFL supposedly paying attention to this now for the first time. Not this time.
I would teach the blow to the head on the way to the ball peanut punch.
What if you turned it into like a boxing combination, like a 1-2? First punch to the head, second punch to the ball.
Oh. Yeah, we need that one. We'll call that the Tyson.
The Tyson.
With the peanut. What is it right now? It's not a peanut punch. It's like Alfred Collins. Who deserves to have this named after them?
Was it TJ Watt that had the most blatant, I'm just going to punch him in the head, and then claim that it was the football?
I was trying to find it a couple of years ago. Whoever got Justin Fields a couple of years ago, that poor guy.
I think TJ Watt's one is the funniest, where he like runs, jumps, and then like punches a guy in the face on his way through to not even hitting the ball.
Yeah, those are the funniest ones. The ones that just end as a punch to the face and doesn't even hit the ball.
But that one was like a flying punch to the face. It was like run and a jump, and then on the way down, like it was like a cartoon punch to the head.
JJ in the chat wants us to test this offseason where I try out a couple different peanut punches to you.
Okay.
Or maybe to each other. We just see what forces the fumble better.
Yeah, okay.
We'll do some testing.
I got a helmet.
We got plenty of room in the studio here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Anthony Nelson from the 3-yard line, or the 10-yard line, but it was really a 3-yard return, tips up the pass to himself, returns it for a 3-yard interception.
Trucking Rattler on the way. Just like blasts him in the shoulder.
A beautiful play. It looked like the Bucs were going to go up 14-0. Jamel Dean with a really nice forced fumble. It's just a fumble, and then inadvertent whistle or actual whistle. So Antoine Winfield returns it for a touchdown, one of 3 times he's running into the end zone.
So this is the imbalanced nature of the rules, right? The official accidentally blows the whistle, play's dead. Official not blowing the whistle doesn't mean the play isn't dead. It just means that we haven't told you yet. Feels stupid?
A lot of procedural stuff this week. Quirky procedural stuff for the NFL officiating.
I mean, the other big thing, so outside of all the crazy turnovers and stuff, or not even outside of it, connected to that is Spencer Rattler gets benched in this game. I kind of see both sides of this. They bench Spencer Rattler, and it's like the offense has gone nowhere. They have 3 points or something at this time. Nothing's going well. Turnovers are happening all over the place. And it's like, let's just try and spark something, right? Like, it's not working right now. With the best of will, Spencer, it's not your day. We're just going to go in a different direction, right? I kind of get that as an argument. I also feel like given how Spencer Rattler has played this year relative to expectations, that's a pretty short rope to be like, we've seen 30 minutes of rough football from you, Spencer. It's time you take a seat in the bench.
I mean, it was really 2 weeks, though. I mean, he had multiple turnovers last week. There were some big plays in there, nice throws to Chris Olave and everything. But it was really 2 straight weeks of, 4 turnovers last week, and then 2 in the first half and this week?
He was also getting killed last week. I mean, that defense was murdering.
I get it. I'm just saying, if you're just counting turnovers, I don't think it matters. It really doesn't.
I think turnovers are, I think it's entirely plausible that they, off the back of last week, went into this week and said, the focus this week is turnovers. Just don't turn the ball over. Be more of a game manager. Do not put the ball in harm's way. And immediately you get the fumble forced from behind after getting punched in the face. You get the one-on-one, oops, I accidentally threw it to a defensive lineman who then ran over me for a touchdown. Like, you get a couple of pretty rough-looking turnovers very early. I think that's plausible that they went, look, this week all we've said is focus on turnovers, and immediately you threw the ball away twice.
I think the Nelson one, I always have some sympathy. I don't know. Was that a bad decision, trying to throw the ball past Nelson? QBs have to do that all the time.
I don't think it's a bad decision. I think it's just one of those things where you understand that risk. Like, you have to make the play.
Yeah.
It's tough, and I think you kind of have to take the shot because that happens so often. If you threw the ball away every time you were faced with that situation, you'd never complete passes.
Right. I do think naked boot with a guy in your face. Right. The same thing I said with Drake May. When Myles Garrett's on you got to throw it away at some point. Rattler tries to throw it through him, and it obviously
I think that's one where it's like, that's one of the few instances where I think you almost just have to judge the results. Like, it is on you to make the play in that situation, and if you don't, that's a problem.
It was also 2nd and 1. I don't know. It's another one of those where my whole mentality is like, judge the process, not necessarily the result. And if Nelson just batted it down,
right, you'd be like, no harm, no foul.
Yeah. Would you be like, terrible decision, Spencer, don't ever do it again? Could have been a pick six. No, you'd forget about it.
And that's kind of why, that's why I feel.
I see where your defense comes from.
That's why the benching feels kind of harsh, right? It's because, we focused on turnovers, but then you've got one where it's like the difference between it being a turnover and it being batted down is Nelson being a freak. And then the second, the first one, he gets punched in the head on the way to it happening. You're like,
maybe he's got a weak chin. You got benched for having a weak chin. No, my whole point on it doesn't matter. It's like, you're a one-win team, high level for this organization. You are truly deciding who your quarterback of the future is. It's still up in the air. It's between Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck, and Mystery Box next year. Mm-hmm. And it's still probably better for the Saints at some point to get a look at Shuck, who they just spent pick 40 on. You just spent pick 40. Like, the only thing that would make you feel good about not seeing Tyler Shuck is Spencer Rattler balling out the whole time. And there was definitely stretches of play this year where, like, man, he could be the guy. But, the last 6 quarters of Spencer Rattler haven't been nearly as good. You have had the turnovers, so they brought in Shuck. And it's either sparked the team in the second half.
Which did
not happen. Or it's like, here's the move we're going to make. I don't think they're going to make the move.
But that's the thing, is it opens that door now to, previously this had been Spencer Rattler's job, relatively unchallenged. And now it's like, well, now we've got a quarterback controversy, regardless of what happens. I mean, Tyler Shuck came in, didn't really spark anything, wasn't dramatically better. didn't play any better, I don't think, than Spencer Rattler. But all of a sudden now, just because you've opened that door, this is now a battle.
Yeah. No, deal with the controversy, as you would say.
And now, not lost in all this, but in amongst all this, you have the fact that the Saints defense actually did pretty well. Baker Mayfield had another game where he wasn't great, was under pressure a lot, wasn't handling pressure particularly well. This was a game where the Saints could have had more joy if they simply hadn't turned the ball over.
I saw John Ledyard, I think, pointed out, he's a Bucs and Steelers fan, so he watches both teams closely. The Baker got strip sacked just before the half. Like, the fact that the Bucs were almost up 14-0 just on the back of their defense. Heading into the half, it was 7-3. And they gave the 3 to the Saints right before the half. Baker got strip sacked.
Right.
And it was one of those, if you just watch the replay, you're like, oh, Chase Young whooped Tristan Wirfs. But Baker, what Ledyard mentioned until I rewatched it, it was a good point. Baker dropped back to like 11 yards on that play. And I don't think there was a reason to. It was a 5-man pressure from the Saints. Sometimes you retreat, for listeners who don't know, most dropbacks are rarely beyond 10 yards. And most you want in the 7 to 9 yard range. It depends on, how many steps your drop back's going to be, and the timing of the routes and everything. Anytime you're beyond 10 yards, the tackles are not blocking for that. So Chase Young takes the angle to Baker. Tristan Wirfs isn't blocking for that. So Chase Young gets in there, and they get strip sacked. Baker gets strip sacked. That's just it's poor pocket management, and it looks subtle. Like, you don't notice it until you start like man, he's really deep. And you lose the integrity of the pocket. And that ended up costing 3 points. Didn't matter in the game, but that cost 3 points. And, the Bucs offense has not looked good for 2 straight weeks. Reminds me a little bit of the Niners overall, where, like, for the first 6-7 weeks of the season, it's like, good job getting through the injuries. Good job. Baker's carrying this team, making, fourth quarter magic. But at some point, they're just running out of, you don't have Mike Evans. You have Ibuka, who doesn't look the same the last couple weeks. Coming off the hamstring injury. It's just not – it's tough to overcome those injuries every single week. Didn't matter in this game. They're a better team than the Saints. The defense made a ton of big plays for the Bucs, but something to keep an eye on with the Bucs offense. Looking not so good these last 2 weeks between the Lions and the Saints games.
I think the Saints – defense, their pass rush was doing a really good job. You look at the sacks. There was that strip sack you talked about. There was one that was just a heavy blitz. They sent like 6 guys. They ended up breaking the Bucs' protection. It was a free rusher. Another one, they just had a guy getting whooped on the offensive line, defensive line. They just won a one-on-one battle and got pressure immediately. And Baker's been doing amazingly in the face of quite a lot of pressure for most of this season. It's been getting better since they got Tristan Wirfs, et cetera, back. But, Baker is a quarterback that can develop some bad habits if he's under pressure a lot. He doesn't always react particularly well to it. And this is the second week in a row, I think, where he's not played particularly well in the face of a lot of pressure.
Great job by the Bucs defense, though. They did in Chase McLaughlin with 3 50-plus yard field goals, 55, 52, and 54 for the Bucs in this one. Defense did a really nice job.
Look at you, kicker expert.
I'm just reading the box score, and I saw that they were all above 50.
Yeah.
So there you go, special teams. You got a little bit of love. Bucs moved to 6-2. They got the South pretty well in control here right now.
Yeah, huge week for them, given, this game within the division, and then Atlanta and Carolina both dropping games.
All right, quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, so after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or if you lock the keys in the car, Root will help cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. 3 more games to discuss. Let's go Denver Broncos, 44. Dallas Cowboys 24. Broncos moved to 6-2. Cowboys now 3-4 in one really impressive game by Denver. and Bo Nix in particular. Nix with an early interception that helped the Cowboys get on the board. But after that point, 4 touchdowns for Nix. The Cowboys completely depleted in the secondary, and the Broncos took advantage. 2 touchdowns for our guy Troy Franklin. A beautiful dime from Bo Nix to Pat Bryant for a 24-yard touchdown. And even a not negated, but maybe Bo Nix's best throw, right on the hands of Cortland Sutton, dropped in the end zone.
Yeah.
Good game for Bo Nix and this Broncos offense.
Yeah, early it looked like it could be a close game because of that bad Bo Nix interception.
I thought it'd be a good competitive game. It wasn't.
Yeah, Denver's defense was too much for the Dallas offense, which had been the thing that was carrying this team for the entirety of the season. And then Dallas's defense remains terrible. And it turns out that that's all you need if you've got a struggling offense or an offense that has been inconsistent. I mean, they've been bad for like 7 of 8 quarters, and then the 8th quarter was catch fire insane. But yeah, they just dominated from that point on. They made a bunch of plays through the air. You got R.J. Harvey going on the ground. You got J.K. Dobbins with some plays as well. Just guys making plays all over the place. To be fair to Dallas, I mean, they were already banged up. Like they lost more bodies during the game. They've got like cornerbacks playing safety. They've got guys on IR. I mean, it's a bad defense anyway, and it got banged up.
Yeah, Harvey had that nice 40-yard touchdown. He had a really good game on the ground. Yeah, you got to take advantage of that. And Dallas's defense had already been rough this year, and then with the injuries, so Denver took advantage. They did a nice job. And then Denver's defense, man. I mean, I thought Dallas – so it's 2 ways of looking at this, right? Dak had been so good under pressure. He had been so good despite offensive line woes, despite offensive line issues generally and injuries. It was almost like this week, a bunch of the – let's say teams overcoming adversity. You didn't see that. I mean, it kind of ran out. It ran out for the Niners. I know the Bucs won, but it's running out a little bit for their offense in particular, overcoming all the injuries. And did it run out for Dallas, at least in this game? Like you just go up against this Denver team, and yeah, they had Patrick Surtain out of the lineup for most of this game, in and out as well. But
even before
so tough for Dallas to overcome.
Even before he left the lineup, Surtain had already broken up a touchdown in the end zone. Like Pickens has the ball in his hands. Patrick Surtain gets a hand in there, breaks it up. Like those are point differential plays that he made. And then when he went out of the lineup, like their defense just making plays overall. The pass rush is the best pass rush in the NFL. Surtain makes a pass breakup in the end zone. Jahdae Barron makes a really nice interception before halftime where Dallas is trying to drive.
That was a beautiful play by Barron.
Should have just let Aubrey kick it from
70. We're all rooting, including Jim and Tony. We're all rooting for a Brandon Aubrey 70-plus yard field goal.
Well, apparently the wind was working against him in this because it's Denver, right? So everyone's like...
More for the legend.
Everyone is like, Brandon Aubrey in Denver... We could see something special here. Forget record. The record's 66 or whatever it is. We want 70 plus. Apparently though, so they were driving before halftime. Wherever the line of scrimmage was there, it was a 70-yard kick if they'd attempted it. But apparently the wind was working. It would have been a headwind, would have been shaving some yardage off. So instead, Dak takes a shot up the seam, and Jahdae Barron makes just a fantastic play in coverage there, picks it off. Bad call from Dak. They didn't need that. They needed, maybe a few more yards. Instead, he goes for something a lot bigger, and you get nothing.
We just wanted to see Aubrey. But yeah, if the wind would have affected things.
I want to see, tailwind in Denver from like 75. Brandon Aubrey just goes out there, breaks the record by 9 yards. And now you can just take field goal shots from the moon.
Let's just discuss how good Troy Franklin was.
He was good.
6 for 89, 2 scores. Caught the ball. I love what you said about the Sutton play.
Yeah, Sutton's drop in the end zone. That was in the end zone, right?
It would have been a touchdown.
It was such a bad drop that I assumed it was Troy Franklin when I saw it live. Just the way he went up for it, like clanged off both hands, just like a seal, just hits the floor. I'm like, I just assumed that was Troy Franklin, and then it was only on the replay. Oh, that was Sutton.
Where's my Broncos stat here? The Broncos have now... Where is it? Outscored the NFC East 65. They gave up a touchdown late. It's 65-20 now in the fourth quarter. 65-20 in the fourth quarter alone. They've scored 65 points against the Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys in the fourth quarter. Remember, they came back 17-3 deficit against the Eagles. They were down 19-0 against the Giants. And against the Cowboys, they were at least winning. They were 30-17, which, by the way, I mean, you're 1 week removed from making this ridiculous comeback, almost blowing it, and still pulling off the win. Sean Payton did not let up whatsoever in the fourth quarter. So they were up 30-17. They scored the first 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, both through the air. Franklin and then R.J. Harvey to make it 37-17, then 44-17. Like, they were not going to let up whatsoever. So Denver, you were asking for this complete game where they'd had these games where their offense wasn't good for a half or 3 quarters, and then they turn it on. Start to finish, I mean, they were up 27-10 at the half, and then they still put up 2 scores early in the fourth quarter to just make sure that there was no shenanigans in this one. So it was an impressive all-around performance, I think, by Denver, especially offensively.
It was. A few things I want to shout out in the game. Number one, Joe Milton comes in late and throws an absolute dime of a touchdown. Just a beautiful throw. There was a point in the game where Dallas fumbles the ball and then somehow they got it back. Brock Hoffman gets awarded the sort of recovery, right? When you watch that play on replay, Brock Hoffman did some work in that pile to get that ball back. There were 2 separate Broncos that had hold of that football when Brock Hoffman jumped on the pile. And by the time they pulled all the bodies off the top, they're like, Hoffman's got the ball. Dallas recovered.
That's another funny one in this world of officiating and got to get it right and replay. Like, that's the one that never gets solved, right?
I mean,
things at the bottom of the but it's okay.
You can. Yeah.
It's okay. It should never get, did the Broncos have it? Did Hoffman steal it at the bottom of the pile?
Part of the fun.
It is part of the fun, right? We never should try to solve that.
And then lastly,
nor can you.
I want to give a shout out to Riley Moss, who is going to get targeted about 7,000 times this season and remain just a very good, productive corner. He had like 4 pass breakups in the game. Now, he's getting flagged quite a lot, and I think several of them have been very harsh. So you have to, like, I think they said it on the broadcast, he's got like the lowest completion rate allowed as a cornerback this year. And whilst that's true, he's also been flagged quite a lot. So
most penalties.
Yeah. So it's like, you can't.
That doesn't show up in the stats.
Yeah. You shouldn't drop one stat, I think, without the other at this point, because it's definitely affecting that number.
Right.
However, I do think he's being unfairly penalized for a couple of these penalties and should have fewer than he has. But overall, my point is, this dude is getting like, they are just raining down targets on Riley Moss simply because he's not Patrick Surtain. And then even for some reason, when Surtain left the game, it's like, we're still going after Moss. And he's consistently really good in tight coverage and making plays on the ball. And it's just seeing more football than anybody else in the NFL.
And you were making this point, like when Surtain is down, why aren't the Cowboys attacking backup corners?
I would target Chris Abrams-Drain.
He's pretty good, though.
He's less good than Riley Moss.
Yeah. But Denver did this, right? Jaquezie Bridges is filling in on the other side for Dallas. Kair Elam is really filling in as well.
Right. But that's the thing.
And they're getting attacked. I mean, Bridges in particular got attacked. That's where they went, and that's good. That's good ball.
Right. It is, however, easier to attack a secondary that basically only has Deron Bland left than it is, hey, one guy's come in for Denver. Let's go after him.
No, I get it. So credit Denver, man. They got Houston next week, as you said. Dallas's defense remains a problem. Plus all the injuries, it's a challenge. And even with Pickens and CeeDee Lamb in there, they had some nice plays, but just not enough against this Denver team.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got 2 more. Colts dominate again against the Titans.
Yeah, they did.
38-14. Was it ever really close? It was early. 10-7. Daniel Jones with a tight window throw. Beautiful catch by Michael Pittman to make it 17-7. And then the Colts start the second half with an 80-yard touchdown from Jonathan Taylor to make it 24-7. They were off to the races after that. Colts win and cover to move to 7-1. Titans fall to 1-7.
Yeah, like all Titans games, tends to be close for a while, and then things stopped being close. And I mean, the Titans were just overmatched everywhere here. The Colts offense in particular is such a wagon. I mean, Jonathan Taylor was just beasting from start to finish. Touchdown run was ridiculous. It was the early one. Then later, he just ends up breaking angles and running through two people and housing a ball that looked like it had no business being scored. Utterly insane. The Titans couldn't stop him whatsoever. You've got, was it back-to-back ridiculous catches by Pittman or just on the same drive?
Same drive, yeah.
Where he like double catches it over the middle and somehow brings it down with a guy all over him. The second one, he's getting like pass interfered with and somehow just reaches back with one arm, snags the ball against his own chest. Ridiculous touchdown catch.
Incredible play. I want to put our screenshot out there as well. I got to put that. The two Jonathan Taylor touchdowns, so he has only 12 carries, but for $153 and 2 scores. They were both special in just different ways. If you watch the first one, I have no idea what the run concept was. It looked like they were trying to run a trap to the left, and the whole thing just it's all messed up. And Taylor just cuts it back and just weaves through the defense for an 18-yard touchdown run. Now, the Colts run blocking, I think, has been outstanding this year. And like on the 80-yarder, they got him to the second level, and I think you made the point. Yeah, him outrunning, I think it was Xavier Woods.
Xavier Woods was the guy that should have tackled him.
Right. And it should have been probably a 20, 30-yard gain at best.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Taylor, don't forget, ran in the 4.3s.
Right.
And is 230 pounds and just outruns him. And it's like, nope, it's 80 yards. That was an incredible angle-breaking run by Taylor.
Jason McCourty, I think, was on the broadcast and was saying that Jonathan Taylor was the reason he retired because back when he played where he was playing for the Dolphins against Jonathan Taylor, he missed multiple tackles on him, one of which looked a bit like that. And he was like, that was when I decided it's time to hang him up. Like, I mean, based off that, Xavier Woods needs to hang him up tomorrow.
Well, that's what Jonathan Taylor does to you, man. Those are the types of answers. You had the weekly Tyler Warren screen pass, slow developing. You set up the screen. He's got 20 yards of space right in front of him. The Colts they're like clockwork. Every single week, all of their players contribute in similar ways. Josh Down had three catches and a touchdown in there. Taylor had another one through the air.
Yep.
Daniel Jones super efficient in this game.
Did you see the call of that touchdown? So if it was a rushing touchdown, he would have had 3 touchdowns twice against one opponent in back-to-back games, right? Which is like the first time that's ever happened or something like that. So the commentator like does the big play-by-play thing, Taylor again, blah, blah, and he becomes blah, blah. And then they're like, hang on, it might have been a touch pass. And then they show the little thing. It's like, and the guy goes, oh, come on.
Good for Daniel Jones.
Play-by-play guy is screaming at the fact that this ended up being a pass. He's like, well, it's still history.
Stupid touch passes should not be passes.
Taylor had a bunch of records in this game, the most interesting of which I thought to be somebody called Dante Koplowitz Fleming said, Jonathan Taylor, with 10, now has the most rushing touchdowns of 40-plus yards by any player in NFL history before their 27th birthday. That's interesting in and of itself, but he says he broke a tie with Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson, Chris Johnson, and Jim Brown.
Wow.
That's a pretty good,
it's a good group.
Foursome to jump ahead of with this touchdown.
And then another example of sometimes you and I are just on the same page when we're watching football games. Alec Pierce.
Yeah. I mean, every week you're going to get a 50-yard pass or a 50-yard catch.
And we look at this. This is our Slack conversation.
Yeah.
Within seconds of each other. Pierce for 50 from you. Pierce always and forever. Every week there's a 50-yarder.
There's one in there somewhere.
And this was for exactly 50 for Alec Pierce. So I feel like I was saying this all preseason, when we saw the Colts in the preseason, for the season preview, the first 8 weeks of the season, Michael Pittman, possession receiver. Tyler Warren, do it all, move him around. Josh Downs, slot receiver. Alec Pierce, deep threat. Jonathan Taylor, running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield. They have all these answers. They have all these answers, this offense. And Jones, first time he was sacked, on third down this year? Like the Titans actually got to him a little bit early. He got sacked 3 times. He hadn't been taking some of those negative plays. But it didn't matter, man. They just have way too many answers offensively. I also want to shout out Tanner Bortolini, the Colts center.
Okay.
That dude's balling. Playing really well in the run game. He looks really quick. I mean, some of the other than the whatever they were running on Jonathan Taylor's 18-yard touchdown. Bortolini, by the way, actually made a nice block at the second level. But when they run their wide zone, it looks really smooth. Quentin Nelson looks awesome at left guard. Bortolini's flying out of his stance, controlling blockers, moving people, taking out linebackers at the second level. He's been very good this season. So all of those theories about Daniel Jones and when he has an offensive line and with all these different playmakers, they just continue to tick all those boxes.
And dominate. Like they are, you mentioned before that Drake May is every week setting some record that only the 07 Patriots have done. The Colts are doing the same thing. Every week there's a number where the only two teams to have done this previously are the 07 Patriots and the Peyton Manning Broncos. Not even the Peyton Manning Colts. So this one was the Colts now have 6 games of 30-plus points in their first 8 games of the season. And the only two teams that have done that before, maybe this century or maybe ever, were the 07 Patriots and that Manning Broncos team that was like off the chain insane. Peyton Manning's Colts never did that. So Daniel Jones setting records that even Peyton Manning didn't in Indianapolis.
For social media, let's just ask the question, is Daniel Jones the best Colts quarterback of all time?
All time. Yeah.
The people are asking.
Daniel Jones 1, Peyton Manning 2, Johnny Football 3.
Johnny Unitas?
Yeah, the original Johnny Football.
Not Manziel? Manziel's been tweeting through some stuff recently.
Yeah? He did some reality show, right? They put him in it was like a Navy SEAL reality show, something or other. I don't know. I don't watch.
Good for him.
I don't think he lasted very long, so it's probably not very good for him, but still.
From a Titans perspective, they're missing. As we get the chat, we have 6 votes in the chat. It's 50-50. Is Daniel Jones the best Colts quarterback of all time?
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Good job by Will. Just get the poll up there quickly. And some people are asking Phillip Rivers, disrespect.
Also, Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan, disrespect. Jacoby Brissett.
The great Burt Jones.
Andrew Luck. Jones? Jim Harbaugh. Jeff George. Jeff George on the list? Anyway, from a Titans perspective, missing Jeffrey Simmons, hurt, missing a couple other players as well. Cam Ward, again, couple nice plays in there, but I think they're just lacking some rhythm. Tajay Spears had a nice 41-yard run.
Yeah. Cam Ward, at least, I think was a little bit more aggressive in this game, had a couple of nice throws in there. I mean, look, it's against this Colts team where you're in a hole, you're completely overmatched on either side of the ball. There was at least, I think, more sign of intent in this game than we've seen for a lot of his games.
All right, man, let's wrap it up. Green Bay Packers, Pittsburgh Steelers. Packers get the win 35-25. The Aaron Rodgers revenge game against the Packers. Packers move to 5-1-1. Steelers fall to 4-3.
Yeah, and we had been focusing on heading into this game. Rodgers could become the 4th quarterback of all time to beat all 32 NFL teams. You know who the other 3 are?
Brady,
yep.
Peyton,
yep,
and Favre.
No. So it's maybe he was. Then it's 5. Drew Brees is the last one I was thinking of. I think you're right, though. Favre did, too.
And
so
Drew
5th.
Brees?
2 other quarterbacks beat all teams that were in existence at their times, but it wasn't 32, obviously.
Joe Montana.
Yep.
And you tell me, like I should know.
You should.
It would have to be
Trivia with Steve.
Someone that played for multiple teams.
Yeah.
What time frame? Warren Moon.
No. Predates all the ones we've talked about so far.
Jake the Snake.
No. Fran Tarkenton.
Fran Tarkenton, sorry.
That's the other one.
Sorry.
So we were focusing on that Rodgers with a win could become the latest quarterback to beat all the other teams.
No, Aaron Rodgers still has never beaten the Green Bay Packers.
But critically, he's also quite close to the record for losing to all the teams.
Oh, really?
Apparently, Derek Carr, I think it's Derek Carr, has the record for having lost to 29 NFL teams. This is all
Is Derek officially a teammate yet? I just want to be careful.
I know. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, look, sometimes you lose some games.
Derek Carr is really good, but also has some incredible, most losses through 6 seasons, 7 seasons, 8 seasons, 9 seasons. He's a good quarterback.
Correct. He has quite a lot of records for losses. which I think is just indicative of how long the man played the game.
Blocked on Twitter again.
I'm trying to find this tweet, but it was a Josh Dubois tweet who was saying that I think Derek Carr. Here you go. Aaron Rodgers has now lost to 29 teams as a starter, 2 shy of the record held by Derek Carr. So Derek Carr lost to almost all 32 teams.
Who else does Rodgers need?
Carr, Flacco, and Russell Wilson share that record. The only teams that have not beaten Rodgers since he started. No. The Browns. The Browns are 0-4 against Rodgers.
They got him twice.
The Raiders are 0-3 against Rodgers, and the Ravens are 0-3 against Rodgers.
Oh, he's got the Ravens.
So he plays
and the
2 of the 3 teams that that have never beaten him left this season.
Record.
So in this focus of completing the set, we were looking at it from the wrong direction.
Some fun stories in this game generally.
Can we just start with how disgusting those Steelers throwbacks jerseys are?
Yes.
Every throwback in the NFL at the moment is awesome. It's, in fact, better than the regular jersey, right? The creamsicles, the Seahawks thing is beautiful. When the Vikings go throwback, who else has been throwbacks recently that are really, really good? The Eagles throwbacks, Kelly Green is better than the sludge that they normally wear. Yeah. Every throwback is better. Unfortunately for the Steelers, they've worn basically the same uniform for almost the entirety of their history. So in order to throw back, you have to throw it to the Great Depression when people were just putting on whatever they could dye with, like, things that happened to be around the house, right? Like, here's some cotton, let's just lob some yellow on it and maybe throw some stripes in it and that'll be it.
Looked like caution tape.
Right. Like, you can't throw back anymore. I'm sorry, but all of your throwbacks are things that should be left in the 1930s. Like, you have just, it's a weird quirk of history where you just happen to have found a good-looking uniform and you've stuck with that for like 80 years, right? That just means you can't throw back. Yeah. Leave that to other people.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the other Packers throwbacks that they used.
Well, the Packers are similar.
Yeah,
they've worn like
here's
the same
navy and brown.
Right. Like, you have worn effectively the same uniform for the majority of history. And in order to get to a throwback, you need to get to a period where things looked ridiculous. So stop doing that.
Here's some caution tape. Put it on. Steelers. They looked like they were ready. Look at these things.
Oh,
they looked like they were ready to run the wing tee and run the ball 75 times.
And it's not like,
maybe they should have.
Remember, was it Philadelphia that had maybe the worst throwbacks of all time? Those weird yellow,
all the different colors,
yellow and teal or whatever it was. Horrible. But they at least have good uniforms. You know, they just found the worst thing they've ever had and put that out there. Every Steelers throwback is terrible. Like, whatever it is, every single throwback at that point is awful. So just stop doing it.
So, yeah, that was a bad start for Pittsburgh. So, early on, good competitive game. It was 16-7 Steelers at the half, by the way. 3 field goals on their first 3 drives, Pittsburgh, or 3. They had 3 field goals early. Was it all 3 drives? No. 3 out of the first 4 drives. Doesn't matter. 9-7. Score a touchdown before the half to go 16-7. They've done a nice job, the Steelers, with DK Metcalf in the red zone. I think they've used DK really well in recent weeks, in the red zone at least. Here's slant and fades. Good luck. Go ahead, try to stop it. So they're up 16-7, and then the Packers just get hot in the second half. Jordan Love at one point completed 20 straight passes. He goes 29 of 37 for 360. Something like 70% of his yards came after the catch, though. I mean, not though, but Tucker Kraft was outstanding on National Tight Ends Day.
Tucker Kraft looked like the best tight end in NFL history in this game. The dude was just an absolute monster. Yards after the catch, like early in the game where they gave him like a relatively short thing and he just goes beast mode. That looked like Gronk. Later in the game, Love had one of those weird games where he threw a bunch of passes that were very sort of unconventional ball flights, shall we put it, right? Normally, most NFL throws are, within a range of velocity. He had a couple where he just sort of lofted it up there. And they ended up getting caught by his receivers. And it's always very difficult, I think, to say, well, how much of that is like perfect quarterback throw judgment? And how much of that is he just kind of put it up there and gave a guy a chance and the guy made the play and he looks great. Like the one where he threw up an absolute duck under pressure and Tucker Kraft just kind of tossed the guy to the side. Deshaun Elliott, I think, who then steps off because he didn't want to get done for pass interference.
For 59 yards.
Right,
yeah.
and then Tucker Kraft catches it. And because Elliott has been oh, I didn't touch him, he's not close enough to tackle him, and Kraft sets off rumbling again. And I'm very reluctant to call that a good play by Jordan Love.
And that was right after, and there were two blatant officiating misses here. That was right after the blatant offsides by the Packers. Aaron Rodgers does his third down hard count.
Yeah.
Guy jumps in the neutral zone. It's pretty clear offsides. Rodgers didn't treat it completely like a free play, but he thought he had a free play. It wasn't free play, let's just heave it for a touchdown. He tried to complete a pass over the middle. It gets broken up, and then everybody's like, all right, where's the flag? All the way to the point where the refs huddled.
Yeah.
And talked about this. This is where the procedural stuff of the NFL was not great.
And this is what Chris was driving at late in the broadcast, where he's what is the difference between, you have to challenge this to make it right, and what were they calling it, replay assist, which I think is just their term now for New York got on the phone.
Which I think is fine. I want to talk about that play in a second. But this particular one, the whole world saw the Packers jump off sides. Now, listen, the previous driver, a couple plays earlier, Broderick Jones had a blatant false start that they also missed, right? He left
really badly.
So the Steelers got away with one. Now the Packers are about to get away with one. So they jump off sides. Rodgers incomplete on third down. And then the refs huddle about this play. And I'm just curious. Now, the ACC has started to mic up the reviews at least. They've started to mic up the reviews. I am fascinated by what this discussion would be. Because if New York could phone in and be like, guys, you missed an offsides. If they could just phone up and get that.
Or even if they can just huddle and look at the TV that everyone else is watching now. This is the crazy thing about NFL officiating is previously it's no, you can't use the replay to get it right. You have to live by your own idiot call. What? Why? That's just dumb.
So they huddled, and I'm curious what they're like, hey, we missed the offsides, but procedurally, we can't just go back and say, guys, we've discovered new information. We missed an offsides call, offsides on the defense, first down, replay the down. So it ended up, it was the turning point in the game. I don't think it was the only thing because the Packers offense was just unstoppable after that point. But it was the turning point in the game because plays later was the 59-yarder to Tucker Kraft, and the Packers scored 3 straight touchdowns, and it was they were off to the races. So it was a huge call at that time. If we jump ahead to the final touchdown, it's Packers are down 2 scores, 16 points. They needed a touchdown and two-point conversions to even stay in this game. Rodgers heaves one up to Roman Wilson, makes the catch, steps 3 times, and then it gets broken up. And they had no timeouts, the Steelers, and a little over 2 minutes left in the game. So if this gets called incomplete, it's game over. And then replay assist comes in and is no, that's a touchdown. We've seen replay assist step in these last couple of years and basically say, we could see this clear as day. You missed it. We're fixing it.
I don't even know what replay assist is. I think that's
New York.
I think that's just a broad term for we are using TV. I don't even think it's necessarily New York. I think most of the time it is, but I think there's
it might be in the stadium.
Right.
Either
I think
way,
that's also we just saw a replay that says we got this wrong.
We're just legitimately overruling the call. Now, replay assist can work on this incomplete touchdown call, no call, but it can't work on the offsides or the false start apparently, right? So it can only work for certain things. And Chris brings up a great point, which is it used to be the Steelers have no timeouts. It used to be sorry guys, you don't have any challenges, you're screwed.
Right.
But in this case, it was no, we just stepped in and you missed the call. And I think we're all good with it being right. Right? I think we're good with it being right. And they got it right. Roman Wilson caught the ball, controlled it, took 3 steps, and then lost it. That should have been a touchdown, and it was.
Yeah, the problem, as it always is with the NFL, is that they have this obsession with what's the opposite of transparency? Opacity. They're they do not want, in any way, shape, or form, you to have any idea how they are coming to conclusions.
Let's go to the pool report and hear them BS their way through.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's we're not going to say anything. Keep stum, and then afterwards we'll feed some crap to one reporter. Not even all of them. One guy will get the official party line, and then we'll move on. Other sports, as you said, the ACC. Other sports, rugby, even refs in soccer, they're starting to have they're miking those guys up as well. Other sports are quite clearly seeing there is a virtue and a power to showing you what the decision-making process is. Because, and in particular, again, in this world where the NBA's, betting scandal, NFL's hip deep with every gambling company, the more you can make it obvious that this is not crooked, the better you are going to be. To the point where in, Premier League soccer, they have put out audio of the VAR, the video assistant replay or whatever it's called, basically because a decision was so bad, they had to prove that this was not corrupt. Like, no, it's okay. We just screwed this up through basic idiocy. It wasn't crooked, right? They put out audio of how they screwed up the decision to prove that it wasn't crooked. Whereas the NFL is just like, nah, trust us. You're good.
The part of the problem with yesterday's games was the Jalen Hurts fumble, the Packers offsides, and let's just say the Steelers false start for being fair here to both sides. And then let's say the Rodgers to Roman Wilson touchdown. The first two were procedure things. The fact that everything you explained about forward progress is done, we can't call a fumble. Like, if we got to be a fly on the wall to that discussion,
right,
it would have been like, hey, we know we fumbled, we screwed this one up, but letter of the law, we can't overturn this.
That's the thing.
Same thing about the offsides. Like, we're screwed. We can't. We know it's wrong, but we can't fix it because there's red tape essentially not allowing us to. But to the NFL's credit, the last one being called a touchdown, despite the Steelers not having any challenges or timeouts, was good, right? They got the call right because they've added this new procedure, which was replay assist over the last 2 years, which fixed it. Whereas in the past, it would be like, sorry, guys, we don't have a mechanism to overturn this thing because the Steelers are out of timeouts. They got it right. So I think they need more procedural stuff.
They need more transparency. They just need to explain what's happening and how they're trying to make the call right. I mean, I saw a bunch of people on Twitter yesterday that were calling out the line judge by name in that Giants-Eagles game. And I specifically didn't do that because they were like, this guy made these 4 calls, right? And the insinuation was he's either an absolute moron or he's crooked, right? And it's time to investigate him the way we investigate everybody else. And it's like, if you actually knew how that call was arrived at. Now, it's still bad, right? I'm still saying he made a mistake deciding forward progress is done. But the point is, I think most people do not know that play is over the very second he decides in his brain forward progress is halted. Most people think that play is still live until the whistle blows. And that's not the case. And all it would take is for them coming on the mic saying, as soon as the official determined forward progress is stopped, the play is over, regardless of when you heard a whistle, and that's not a reviewable play. Like, literally the conversation they had with Daboll on the sideline. This is what they told him, I'm sure. But nobody in public knows that. The announcers don't know that because it's such an esoteric rule. We're in this world where you just have to hear nothing and assume, well, either this guy's an absolute idiot or he's fixing the game, it's rigged. Simply putting that explanation out there would be beneficial.
I agree. I have some other takeaways from this game.
I wanted to credit multiple defensive players on the Packers who kind of kept them in this game until the offense caught fire. Carrington Valentine saves a touchdown with a pass breakup in the first half. That ended up in a 4-point play because they scored a field goal, I think, in the next play.
On DK.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Breaks that up in the end zone. Dime, by the way. Literally landed in DK's hands, and then Valentine breaks it up. Evan Williams saved one on the next drive as well. They had more plays after that, but again, that ended up being a field goal drive. That's another 4-point play if you want to give them that. I mean, that's 8 points that individual Packers defensive backs saved from the scoreline in the first half, which was getting away from them. So their defense really kept them in the game until the offense went nuts.
The other plays that I wanted to highlight, beginning of the fourth, so the Packers finish their drive, go to break, they come out of the fourth quarter, they score in the first play of the fourth quarter, they're up 22-19. Still a one-score game. Steelers come back out, and the very first play of the drive, Aaron Rodgers gets sacked. And I know it was Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons, earlier in the game, created the pressure that forced Rodgers to step up into Rashawn Gary's sack. Gary got the full credit for the sack, but it was Micah Parsons that set it all up. We're a context people here. Here's my context for the Rodgers sack at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Micah Parsons runs through a triple team, and everybody's like, great rush by Micah Parsons, which it was. Going back to the Myles Garrett example that we used earlier on the show. The rush itself was outstanding. The fact that it became a 10-yard loss for the Steelers in a 3-point game in the fourth quarter where you're trying to keep up now with this Packers offense that's starting to get hot, just an absolute drive killer for the Steelers. And I think it's on Rodgers, man. I think he's got a check down. He's got to, on 1st and 10, in a 3-point comeback attempt, he's got to make a better decision. And then they're in 2nd and long, and then he's just dinking and dunking on the next 2 plays, and you punt and you give the ball back to the Packers, and they score and they go up 10. And I just think that was an absolute drive killer. And I pick on Rodgers a little bit in these situations because I think historically, compared to other, I know he's in his 40s and he's great for a 40-year-old, 41, whatever he is. He's great for that age. But historically, Rodgers compared to the greats that he gets compared to, Brady, Manning, Mahomes, all of those guys are so much better than Rodgers in fourth quarter comeback situations and situational football, and just their record in fourth quarter comeback attempts is night and day compared to Rodgers. And I think this particular play is an example. I highlighted a lot of these last year where he takes what those guys did better is take shots when they're supposed to, take checks downs when they're supposed to, avoid sacks when they're supposed to, and Rodgers seemingly does the opposite more often than the other elite quarterbacks. And this was a perfect example where he could have either buried it or taken a little check down for 2 yards, stayed on schedule, and they go 3 and out, they punt, Packers score again, they go up 29-19, and the first 2 drives for the Steelers in the fourth quarter, they get negative 12 yards. And that was the game. Steelers defense was awful from that point on. They can't cover the middle of the field still. They still look at each other with palms up after every play. Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen yell at each other after every play.
That is fascinating.
There's massive miscommunications. The Steelers are maddening to watch because you know they have good pass rushers. You know they have good blitz schemes. You know they have good personnel on the back end for the most part at corner, and they still can't stop anybody. And they never. It's just never working together. That's all of that's true. But I really thought that Rodgers taking that sack and the fact that the offense disappeared until they were down 16, and then they convert a 4th down and get the Roman Wilson touchdown. It's like Rodgers, the final stat line looks pretty good, and he made some throws when they were down 2 scores. But when they were down 1 score, they did nothing. And I think that was the difference in the game where Rodgers had to do what he did last week. He did it well last week. Keep coming back and keep up with the defense blowing it. He was unable to keep up with Jordan Love and the Packers offense in this one.
Yeah. I also wanted to give shout out to Christian Watson, who came back, obviously, off his knee injury. Yeah. Number one, made a significant difference in terms of he was on the end of a couple of those Jordan Love plays that were the one where I think he got it over a guy and dropped it into Christian Watson's hands. That I think I'm a lot more willing to give him credit for than the Tucker Kraft thing. That I think was a good play.
That was a good play.
That was well judged.
That was a good play.
But it was Watson on the end of that. He made a couple of plays where he was on the end of it. I do think he brings something different to this offense that even every other wide receiver in that absurdly deep group does not have. That unique blend of size, strength, vertical ability. He also was blocking his ass off for a guy that's just come back off a knee injury. I mean, he sprung Josh Jacobs late in the game, but he was blocking hard immediately from that game. That's a sort of statement for a guy who's working his way back off a knee injury that's supposed to be the sort of, the flashy, vertical, big receiving threat who's getting, in dirty in the trenches, making plays for other people.
Way back when we were doing our most important non-QB show this offseason, I think I highlighted Christian Watson, and it's because, 4-3 with speed. 4-3 with size. That is something that they don't have, and that does stretch the field, and it makes the Packers that much more difficult to defend. And for whatever you want to say about like the evaluation of Jordan Love and whether or not the throw was good or not, the fact that he has the trust that he has in Tucker Kraft, in Christian Watson on those plays down the field, that was a huge difference in the game. Because again, on the other side, when Rodgers heaved up a couple, but when they needed some of those big plays, he might check it down. Love was aggressive, took chances, and the Packers receivers made those plays down the field. That's why Love threw for 360 and 3 scores.
All the focus is going to be on Rodgers because he's Rodgers. The Steelers have the most expensive defense in the NFL, and it got lit up for 450 yards by this Green Bay team.
Awful.
And Green Bay's defense made way more plays, whether it's the pass breakups I talked about, whether it's their pass rush, and that's supposed to be the strength of Pittsburgh. Whatever about the back seven, we're expecting this front four, front 5, 6, 7, however many people you want to throw in there in terms of capable pass rushers. We're expecting that group to be terrorizing opposing quarterbacks every single week. And, I mean, it got some against the Packers, but it didn't. I mean, Green Bay's was more impactful.
I'll bring it up right now just because I do Pittsburgh radio every week. Pony was on with Pony the other day.
Is he?
He's this week.
What's the plan?
This week.
For the nipples.
Nipples getting pierced this week for that Bengals game.
What are the stipulations?
The Steelers have not won a game since he declared he would pierce his nipples.
True.
Yeah.
But is he having anesthetic? Did he back away from that? Or
I don't know. I don't know if he was. I mean, I feel like I'd be willing to concede that. I mean, that doesn't really matter. I think he was like maybe a little mad at me because I kept retweeting it.
Yeah. I mean, look.
Because he was like, did a lot of people in Cincinnati talk about it? I said, yeah, a lot of people in Cincinnati picked up your brash statements.
It seemed to get traction once it became apparent the game was close.
But the fact that I may have quote tweeted it 5 to 6 times, I don't know if he was like a little upset that it. Because it goes out there, it's out there enough that you have to do it.
Yeah. I feel like once you put that in, once you have tempted that level of fate, and it turns out that fate's just going to slap you in the face, that's on you. You can't complain that somebody amplified that. I mean, look, you didn't want it out there. You shouldn't have tweeted it.
It's funny because it's not even his worst take. He had a Kenny Pickett, Joe Montana.
It's not even his worst take. It's going to cost him his own nipples, and it's not his worst take.
I'll bring this up. I want to have a quick Mike Tomlin conversation.
Uh-oh.
Because I've generally defended Tomlin and said the guy's had uneven quarterback play for the last few years. It's a miracle to get his team.
And just to level set, they are currently 4-3.
They're currently 4-3.
So even, with what is to be said about to come, this team still has a winning record. And look, I'm first place in the division.
Lukewarm take guy here. It's week 8, right? Anything can happen in the next 9 weeks of this 10 weeks of the season. We have 18 weeks, right? Anything can happen, of course. But I'm starting to lean into this idea that Mike Tomlin, he might just be calibrated to 9-8. He might just be the types of games that Mike Tomlin seems to lead with the Steelers. I mean, I'll bring this up too. Like, why does the Steelers defense? Why Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, who had a good defense, and then they suddenly didn't have a good defense. The Steelers were supposed to have a good defense, and they did last year for the most part until the playoffs, but. Now they suddenly don't have a good defense. Like, is this a Rodgers thing? Is this the way they practice? Or what is this? But Tomlin seems to be 9-8 regardless. Whether you give me Duck Hodges, Aaron Rodgers, or Kenny Pickett, we're going 9-8. And that's what we are. And that includes, like, we're gonna lose games that we should win. We're going to surprise you with this one game, maybe against a great Baltimore team and beat them. We're going to win a game with 6 field goals like they did last. They were on their way to doing that. They were going to win with all field goals in this game at one point. Is there too much consistency with Tomlin, including, by the way, DK Metcalf is picking up personal fouls. They had 2 personal fouls on plays that extended drives. Or
it was a very chippy game, actually.
It was. But, like, is that another feature and not a bug? Right? George Pickens is like a model citizen right now in Dallas. It's gone both ways. Deontay Johnson ran himself out of the league when he left Pittsburgh. But now DK's picking up. He's poking people in the eye and everything. Like, what's going on? Why are they seemingly set up to be just over 500? And then when they get into the playoffs, they get whooped. And that's been
I mean, look,
ultimately my point is, I've generally defended Tomlin because he's had less than stellar quarterback play, and who can overcome that as a head coach? On the other hand, I feel like there is an incredible amount of consistency in Tomlin's teams, both good and bad, that have them landing as 9-10 win teams at best right now in today's NFL. And I don't know if that's what Pittsburgh wants or if they should be looking for better.
Yeah, I mean, several things can be true at the same time. I think lacking a quarterback means you're not going to win in the playoffs. Like you're going to get to the playoffs, you're going to go up against elite quarterbacks.
It's the way it happens. His defense gets smoked.
Right, but you cannot contend without a decent quarterback in the NFL. So it makes sense that these teams just completely run off the cliff once they hit the postseason. I think generally Mike Tomlin sets an extremely high baseline for a football team. He's a very old school, I don't want to say dinosaur, but he's a classic old school football coach. And there's some merit to a lot of the things they did. That's why it was successful back in the day. Like the fact that their training camps are more intense and physical than other teams. Like I think he sets a very high baseline by getting a football team together in a good way, well coached in those terms. Now, there's also a bunch of new age stuff that I think he's pretty bad at. Like Ben Baldwin has this sort of running tally every week of, win probability lost by coaching scared on fourth down is how he terms it, right? Essentially kicking when you should be going for it based off the analytics, quote unquote. The Steelers are by far and away the worst team in the NFL at that this season. They have lost a staggering amount of win percentage by kicking in go situations, right? That makes a difference. So on the one hand, you got this coach who's raising the floor to this really high baseline because he's a good, fundamental, old school football coach. And then you've got this new world now where everyone needs to understand the margins, the little percentages here or there that happen during the course of a football game. And Tomlin wants no part of any of that. He's just consistently flying losing by the seat of his pants, going on the fields because that's the way he does it. And so they're leaving all this low-hanging fruit just sitting there at the bottom, waiting to be picked up that nobody's touching, and everyone else is grabbing it, and you're not. So I think that explains a lot of it, that they can't be that bad because he's a good football coach, but they might not be able to be elite because he's not taking advantage of all this crap that everyone else is.
Yeah. So I think it's just a fair discussion. Like, I'm not calling for anything, but I think Steelers fans have been debating this for a while, and it comes down to that. Like, there's some things he's really good at. I think the raised floor makes a lot of sense. They're still 4-3. They have plenty of 10 games left. We'll see, but it's a difficult schedule.
I mean,
and they just feel like a 9-8 team.
Look,
and I'm shocked at how bad the defense is.
Yes, that's a big thing. There's a reason that Vegas never bought into them being a runaway favorite for this division, right? And I assume, based off the results, Baltimore will jump back into being favored for the division, even though they're multiple games back still. So there's a couple of ways this season can still go for Pittsburgh. If they fail and they end up not making the playoffs with the start that they had and the start that Baltimore had, and the whole thing unravels, I think there's a fairly strong argument that you could move on from Mike Tomlin and it would be perfectly reasonable, even in a world where you're like, he's even if they go 9 and even if they get 9 wins and he doesn't have a losing season again, I think there's still justification that like, okay, now we can do it. Or they make the playoffs, they win the division, say they hold off Baltimore, they make the playoffs, and they get shellacked again once they get there. And it's like, I think you can still make the argument now that whatever the limitations are within this Mike Tomlin dynamic, they exist and they're not changing. So it's maybe we can just go in a different direction, even understanding that there's like a 50% chance we're worse because of it.
It would be the same thing as the Cowboys discussion. It's like you're a 12-win team that gets waxed in the playoffs. That's a worthy conversation of it's so consistent. Do we want something better? Like it's a very high. The Cowboys winning 12 games year after year with Mike McCarthy, then losing in the playoffs. That's a really high floor, but you're looking for more, right? So we used to have that conversation. So they're going to play the Colts. They're scheduled. They've got the Colts and Chargers the next 2 weeks. Still have to play the Ravens twice, the Bills, and the Lions, just amongst other teams. So it's not easy for Pittsburgh here going forward. And credit for the other Packers, the number 1 seed in the NFC at 5-1-1.
Yes, they have to be, right?
That stupid tie, man. That stupid tie all season, dealing with it. We said this wasn't a fun week. We're over 3 hours. Let's see. Where's playoffs, NFC, 5-1-1 Packers. Yeah. Because how's that? It counts as like a half loss in the winning percentage. Is that right?
The Steelers, didn't they screw up a clean sweep for the AFC this week?
Did they?
I think so. I think if the Steelers had won, it would have been a complete AFC sweep
I did not know
in
that.
games between the two of them, obviously.
Packers currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. 5-1-1. Eagles and Bucs at 6-2. Seahawks and Lions and Rams all at 5-2. NFC is looking strong. AFC can get there if the Colts are as legit as we think they are. Get the Ravens back on track. Chiefs are moving in the right direction. Chiefs are not in the playoffs as of right now.
If the playoffs
Until they play
today,
tonight and win.
If the playoffs started right now before their game.
If the
They would not
playoffs
be in the
started
playoffs.
this afternoon, Chiefs don't even make it.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. That's it for us. Good show, fun show today. We got Wednesday show, of course. We'll react tonight. We got Commanders and Chiefs for Monday Night Football. So make sure you are subscribed. Check out the membership option so you get your name on the wall as an insider. But join us. We got a lot of fun stuff, including our Super Bowl plans. Big plans for the Super Bowl. We could start teasing as well. So anything else?
No. If you enjoyed the book club episode we did, you can find that in the video section of the YouTube channel. We did one with David Fleming, who had a book called A Big Mess in Texas, which is all about the Dallas Texans back in 1950-something, 52. If you enjoyed that and want to see more, let us know what other books we can do. Email in at what are we called? Check the mic at the3013.com.
And David Fleming, he was the reporter on the scene. With Pablo Torre.
He was, him and Pablo Torre buried Michael Lombardi for an hour in recent Pablo Torre Finds Out episode. Just good old-fashioned, clean fun.
Maybe we should have him on the show.
Michael Lombardi?
No.
Oh.
David again, but, to double down on all the Lombardi stuff.
I feel like I just enjoy the Lombardi stuff as a consumer, as a viewer. I just find that's just good, feel-good entertainment. Just watching a guy just have his entire character assassinated for an hour. It's like couldn't have happened to a nicer guy,
Yeah. Not too many people in the NFL think
nobody,
highly
apparently. Literally nobody.
Lombardi.
Yeah. Everybody, in fact, seems to have the exact same opinion of him as I always had, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
I rarely have I apparently instinctively nailed a guy so completely as my initial reaction to Michael Lombardi. It turns out everyone else thinks the same thing.
You lose a little credibility when you don't like anybody, but this one you got.
But it's not.
No,
the baseline for not liking people is fairly low, but I hated that guy. It turns out everyone else does too.
Yeah.
And that's before you find out that he's making up half his resume.
Big fraud.
Yeah.
Big fraud.
Huge fraud.
Anyway. Just saying. The guy came off as
a fraud.
Smug.
Yeah.
Pretentious. The whole thing. Pretentious.
But at least he sticks to the typewriter,
He's got a typewriter. Who doesn't have a typewriter?
He's got several, apparently.
That's it for us today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again on Wednesday with more Check the Mic.